I lived.
Hello, chat. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's been a weekend. It's been a weekend. As you can't tell from just how crazy everything looks, it's been a weekend. But as I started, and as our stream title is, I lived. It'll take more than that to take me out. Although we cut it incredibly close. It was an action-packed weekend here in my life, and I can't wait to tell you all about it as we do about that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't do the traditional greeting of our people. Hello and welcome, party people. Welcome back to the Jank Drawer. My name is Sam. This is the Jank Drawer, where every story has its home. And wow, we just had a whole bunch of weird camera things happen. Was that a Twitch issue? Was that a my camera issue? Honestly, my bitrate looks incredible. So, like, I don't know that it might just be my camera issue. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Sudden movements and all that. It should be able to track me without having any of those issues. But if I look like a hot mess, it is because this has been an action-packed weekend. Welcome back to Magic Monday. We are going to be playing Magic the Gathering today, and it is going to be fun, and we're going to have a good time. But we're going to try and keep the vibes low-key and chill, because I've had enough excitement for maybe several weekends this weekend. But, you know, I still think we've got a lot of things that we can do and that are going to be a lot of fun. I genuinely look forward to Magic Mondays, because I do think we're in a really good spot. We're going to probably be playing a lot more standards today than we are going to be draft, just because we're a little further away from our quick draft. We didn't get as lucky with re-rolling our dailies. Your sword just came in! Congrats, Rat King! Congrats! I hope it's a very cool sword. I hope that you really enjoy it, and that it is good for all of your sword fighting needs. That is very, very cool. No. Yeah, just to get into the title and the why I look so much like my normal resplendent self, but just haggard and as if I have gone to war. It is because we did. War happened this weekend. As I was talking about last week, I look forward to it, Rat King. I will ask for it explicitly. But as I was talking about last week, going into this weekend, and as I've been building up with all of you, and that those who are longtime watchers and are knowers know, I have been running this 3.5-year-long D&D game. Thank you, I like it. The real thing is I just feel so tired, and I've been sleeping a lot lately, because, like I said, 3.5 years long, we've been playing this same D&D game with me and 4 of my very close friends. As we played over the past several years, a whole bunch of things got up, and about last October, I kind of said, like, hey, we're entering the end game. And then finally, on last Wednesday, we had our first, like, actual midweek session that we did, and we usually play for, like, a couple hours every week on, like, a Wednesday or a Thursday. And we had that one, and we had gotten to the end game, and, like, the actual last session, and I was like, hey, so, the only thing that we have left is the last session. When do we want to do that? And because it was our last session, the group had all decided that we wanted to do something really big and special for it. So we were going to get together on, like, a weekend, we were going to play all day, we were going to get a whole bunch of food, we were going to make stuff, and there was going to be drinks, and there was going to be a whole party atmosphere, and we were just going to, like, play through all the way until the resolution of the end here. And so on Wednesday, I was like, cool, I just want to know when's a good time that works for everyone. Let's try and put this on a schedule. If it's not, like, for a couple of weeks, we can try and do, like, another in-between session next week, and then we can do it the week after that, or what works best for everyone. And I shouldn't have been surprised. I was a little bit, but not that I wasn't ready for it. I just wasn't ready for how much it would take out of me. But my entire group were like, oh, well, we probably can't do next week, but like I'm available this weekend. Does Saturday work? And then, much to my surprise, and to the surprise of anyone who's ever tried to schedule a D&D game on short notice, literally all of us were like, yeah, we could totally do Saturday. And so I had like a 72-hour window from when we wrapped D&D Wednesday to when people were going to be coming over to the house to hang out and play D&D and like get this whole story wrapped up and finished that we've been telling and we've been working together on for 3.5 years. It was crazy. It was a ridiculous thing to set out to do, but I had, as every good dungeon master would, a rough plan in my head of what it was going to look like. And so I didn't feel too stressed about it. Friday night, obviously, we had a wonderful stream here. I had an absolute blast. I hope you all did as well, playing Monster Hunter with friend of the stream, Abby. And I know I talked to a lot of the people that were in this because a lot of you guys are my friends, and most of the mod team was in that stream. And I talked to some of them to try and figure out the like setting up a guild thing and all that stuff. Turns out they don't have guilds for Monster Hunter World on PC, because the whole reason you would build a guild is if you were playing on console. If you're all members of the same guild, it makes crossplay easier. But on PC, I'm glad that she enjoyed it. I had so much fun. Please tell her that I had so much fun, and I'm already looking forward to doing it again. But it turns out they don't have that on PC, because on PC they're just like, it's always going to be launched. Yeah, I don't like this weird graphical thing. I'll have to look into that. But worked into the Steam client is how everything it just goes, and they want us to... I don't know. I feel like the camera is possessed. Hold, please, chat. We are going to... completely broken. Let's see what's going on. Technical difficulties. Of course, this is the other reason. Like, this is why we are... I did just unplug it and plug it back in again, and now it's, like, incredibly broken. That was the first thing that I tried. Okay. It is unplugged currently. Now it's just not connecting at all. We are going to go to... camera... Okay, so the camera is working on this end. So there's no camera issue with the camera itself. What is going on with the camera? Camera's back. Camera's back. We will be monitoring the camera, but camera, like, fully broke. We do need to get a little PNG. I did make one when we did the migraine stream a couple of weeks ago, when I streamed that entire day that I had a migraine, and I made a little post-it note version of me that said "Sorry, no face cam." But that's on a different screen and not on this one. But we did it. I also do have, if push comes to shove, I do always have the option of, if we really have to, we can do this webcam, which is the one that we usually do, that is now giving us problems today. Or, if I do one of these, we can do this webcam over here. Yeah, that requires me to make a little PNG form of myself. And we don't have one of those. Yeah, I do have 2 webcams currently. It's just mainly we have only ever set up and used the other one, because the other one is like the inbuilt webcam to the stream laptop. which is fine. It's not quite as good, and it's not set up. The main difficulty with it is that the second camera is not set up to work with the lighting system that we've got going on here in the Jank Drawer studio. But like, when push comes to shove, that is a treatable issue. But we do have a very fancy dual camera setup, in that I've had the camera break before and we've had to fix it on the fly. So if the camera goes out today, we do have answers to that problem. But back to my story. Back to Storytime chat. It's also just like technical difficulties has been segue away from Storytime. Already directly contradicting myself. Today has been the day of technical difficulties, mainly just because, like, we'll get to why I'm as tired as I am and why I look the way I am again here in a minute when I finish talking about this weekend. But then I finally did get home today and, like, was getting things ready to go, and here in the studio getting things ready to go. And then I booted up the stream laptop to get everything starting going to, like, work on the post that I made on Instagram, which is the schedule for the week, and we'll talk about the schedule for the week here in a minute. I'll also post that up on the Discord, and the Blue Sky and all of the places. So we've got the schedule that went up. We've got all that stuff that I was working on, and I booted up the laptop, and it took a minute to boot. Campaign went very, very well. It went just very, very long. But we tried to get all that set up, and then I was like, cool, let's go, and let's get ready to go. And then I checked Windows updates, because I always do, to make sure that we don't have something just, like, crash in the middle of this. And I think there was about 25 different Windows updates, and they didn't finish installing. I opened the laptop at, like, 1 to work on that. And they didn't finish installing until 1:57, which is why we're a little bit late getting going here. So I appreciate the patience. But the campaign, we built to this epic finale. We had made it finally to the end of our quest. We had made it to the heart of the Mournland in Eberron. We had identified the mist. We had reconnected with the long-lost mother of 2 of my characters. And the tenuous situation that she was in with the Lord of the Blades, a person that they were not really big fans of as players, and had a whole bunch of beef with, but that their mom was working with to try and undo the end of the world that they caused. And so we had gotten to this really interesting situation there, and we had set a date and a time. We were going to be meeting up on Saturday. We were meeting up at 4 p.m. and we were just going to play until the campaign was over. And we were going to make tacos. And so, being the incredible host and dungeon master that I am, that meant that starting at like 2 o'clock, me and one of the other players, who just happens to be one of my roommates, went and did all of the grocery shopping. And then he and I made tacos and all of the seasonings and all of the sides and all that stuff for everyone to show up at 4. So we'd spend all this time in the kitchen, cooking, doing all these other things. It was honestly a blast. I had a really great time. Everyone ended up getting here closer around 4:30. We took some time to eat. And then we started the session by leveling everyone to 19. Because they had hit all of the requirements, since I do milestone leveling, to be 19th level. Which is wild. This is a campaign that in the past 3.5 years has gone from level 3, which is where we started, all the way to we finished our session on Saturday night at level 20. So we did the whole gamut. We made it all the way from beginning all the way to end. We did 17 full levels of level up. It was insanity. And high level D&D is a really interesting experience. It's fun for individual sessions and for like one-shots and things like that. Over the course of like I don't think we could have done multiple sessions at 20th level. The fact that we did the last like 4 hours of our session at 20th level is much more in line with like how I think high level, because at high level D&D the system and the rules all around it just kind of break down. But that's where we had gotten, and I'm really proud of it. It's the first campaign I've ever run. Not the first campaign I've ever run that has finished, but the first campaign that I've run that has made it all the way from level 3 to 20th level, which was ridiculous. It was a lot of fun, and my players had a lot of fun. My players made a lot of really, really cool choices as like the epic boons they were going to get. We ended up with our party of 4. We had a really interesting mix of all of our like final level builds of like our one player who we've talked about a little bit here, who her character name was Quelena. She was our bard that was doing a whole bunch of stuff with the Fae and had this whole like really intricate storyline around the worlds of the Fae in Eberron and going back and forth between them and being part of like a never-ending story kind of thing, and being hunted by her past and having to overcome that. It was a really, really cool narrative, and this was her first as a player or as a character D&D campaign ever. This is a really good friend of mine from high school that we've known each other for over a decade at this point, and when this campaign was going to start with me, a couple of my roommates, and one of my roommates' partners, we were looking for a 4th person, and I had just reconnected with her after not talking to her for several years, and was like, hey, you're looking for a reason to get out of the house and to do things and to like make new friends. I'm starting this thing 3.5 years ago. Would you be willing to join us? You're going to be the only person that's never played before, but like, it's a really good group. One of the other players also hasn't played very much, but they have played like a couple of sessions before. So like, you'd be the newest player, but you wouldn't be alone, and like, you have to learn things and you have to figure out what it's like. And it'll be a really good time, and I promise you're going to have a lot of fun. And that was what I pitched her on 3.5 years ago. And then to have this be her first character, and she played it so well and did all of these cool and intriguing things. She ended up just straight leveling Bard the entire time, which was fun. 20th level Bard, turns out, kind of busted. She didn't get to really shine at her 20th level in the, like, what Bards can do magically kind of way, due to the exact nature of the fight, and we'll get to that in a minute. But she's shown in the other way that I think Bards very often don't get to shine in most campaigns and in D&D stories in general, in that the whole point of the Bard is that Bards are incredibly talented at many, many things. Of, like, you have more proficiencies and more expertises than kind of almost anyone else in the game. You just, because of your jack of all trades, get to be semi-proficient in everything. And so one of the key instruments of our final fight... Exactly. It's wild Midnight Campaign. And they made it to 20th level, never even... This specific character never dying, and their character only going unconscious in a combat once over the course of the entire 20 levels. To be fair, mainly that's because whenever the players would get into a fight, this character just wouldn't do anything. Because she usually, as we picked up on, would have some sort of mystery involved in the encounter, because I don't like my encounters to just be, like, hack and slash, here's bad guy, here's good guys, we fight in, like, a pit match. I want there to be environments to interact with. I want there to be things and puzzles that you can try and solve. And so this character had settled into, like, hey, I'm an incredibly powerful spellcaster, but I'm also the smart person, and so I'm going to spend the encounter solving the mystery, figuring out why these things are happening, what's going on here, how can we actually win instead of just having like a Pyrrhic victory or something like that. How do we answer the question and solve the riddle? And that has become kind of their thing that they do in most encounters for most of the campaign, and it has gone pretty well. Our other newer character, newer player that we had been playing a character named Zilri, who was a House Thorani turned House Vol representative. that was an assassin that turned to, like, essentially by the end of the campaign, she was founding her own dragon marked house, and essentially turning to politics, and like providing guidance for lost souls between life and death, reinstating the House of Death that had long been lost. And she did similarly a full 20 levels of Shadow Rogue, which was a lot of fun to play, and this wasn't her first character. She had similarly played in another campaign with me previously, but that campaign ended after like 4 sessions. So really, this was like that player's first full campaign, and once again, absolutely incredible. Killed it. Made great decisions. Was always a lot of fun to have at the table. But once again, another just really interesting build to see just the growth of the player as a player, going from the beginning where she had built a character that wanted to be really sneaky and really infiltrating and like never wanted to get into the fight, because even though she is really good in fights, because rogues are really good in fights, especially if you can constantly give yourself opportunities to use your sneak attack. And that was something that, like, throughout the 3.5 years, the party had constantly been trying to tell her of, like, hey, just attack the bad guy, because you are the only person, like, you don't have the most attacks, you can only ever make 1 attack a turn, but if you hit someone, you hit like a truck, like, you do so much damage. And she had been so reluctant over the past 3.5 years to do that, of just like, I just don't want to, because she got this idea in her head that she was really fragile because she doesn't have a lot of hit points and things like that. And so it was really fun to see not only the character progression and the character growth through this campaign, but the player growth and the player progression as she, by the end of this, we started, and like her 19th level when she got her epic boon was like, I'm going to take irresistible offense. None of my damage can ever be resisted. We're going to always do full damage, and if I crit, we're going to do extra damage on top of that, equal to my dex modifier, which is now 21. Not my dex modifier. My dex score, which is 21. Which is a crazy... Which is like a crazy pickup. It was really, really good. And then as soon as that was done, 20th level, she then gets the thing of like, I can always, anytime I miss, I can just choose to hit instead once per day. And I'm like, oh, so we're just going to do crazy damage. And it ended up becoming really relevant because we saw this character turn from this player, in that up until that point, she had been very much like, I don't want to be the one doing combat, we get to the actual end combat, and she's like, no, I'm going to attack every single turn. I'm going to be using all my abilities to give myself advantage. She had Elven Accuracy, so she was rolling 3d20s and taking the highest number. She's like, we are crit fishing. We are trying to do this because if no one else can do damage, by the mechanics of the game, I can do damage. And that's all that matters, is we are gonna just number crunch and damage crunch and work our way through these things, and that's what we are going to do. And it worked out. She ended up doing hundreds and hundreds of points of damage. She crit twice, rolling like 22d6. It was insanity. It was great. And then our other 2 characters were the people that are the most like active players. These are people that I have like lived with for a while. They have played in multiple campaigns with me. This is not even the first campaign of mine that they have finished. They finished in a different group another campaign with me a couple of years ago. But they had been playing Brothers, and they both did Fighter and then variations off of that. So we had the younger brother who did Fighter 14, Cleric 6, who was like the team healer, and like he wasn't great at magic, but he had up to 3rd level spells, and he was good enough with them that he could do what he needed to do. He also had a whole bunch of fun things of like being chosen by several gods, and he had he was a master inventor and a forge master. Like, he had a really cool narrative arc that he built into this really interesting thing that, like, he and I, after the fact of the campaign and then towards the end of it, had been talking about, especially with the release of a lot of the new Eberron stuff that came out at the end of 2025, specifically Forge of the Artificer, and the new 2024 version of the updated Artificer class. He and I both talked through it and were like, hey, your character was dope. Like, don't get me wrong, we loved his character. His character was great. I'll be thinking about his character, Emmer, for years, because I think it was one of the best characters we've ever had at a table. And I'm really excited to see what he does next, because we're going to be playing again, obviously, in the future, but we are going to take a little bit of a hiatus between now and then to figure out what our next campaign is going to be and what our next characters are going to be. And what that whole format is going to look like. But it is very much like all of the things that he wanted now could have been done as, like, a battlesmith or any of these artificer classes. But because they didn't exist at the time, we didn't use them. And now it's like, oh, there's been all these cool things. So it's like, there's a lot of excitement there of, like, what other things could we try to do? What other stories could we come up with? And then the older brother was a character named Kane, who his entire thing is he was the reluctant hero of the group. From, like, literal session 0, his player had decided that Kane didn't want to be on the adventure. Like, he didn't want to be there. He didn't care about the end of the world. His only motivator and his only driving factor in all of these things was family and keeping the people that he cared about and the people that he loved alive. Specifically, his actual younger brother, who he had been separated from for like 20 years. That's what I thought was really interesting, is that it is very much a picking of a biblically named character who is famously renowned for killing his brother, and then playing the inverse of that, of being like, my name is Cain, and the only thing I care about is if my brother is alive or not. And if he isn't alive, then I will burn the world down. But my brother is such a softy and a goody two-shoes that when you tell him the world's going to end, he's going to go try and save the world. And so I have to go along to make sure that he doesn't die, because if it's in my power to keep him alive and I don't do it, I can't live with myself. It was such a really cool, like, twist on the name, and it was a really cool character. But it was also, like, it was fun to watch as he built his character around that, of, like, he ended up finishing the campaign 18th level fighter, 2nd level rogue, because of backstory reasons. He, like, to survive the 20 years that he was around, had fallen in with a street gang, so he'd had a whole bunch of rogue training. But he was mainly a fighter because he was, like, a tough in a gang before he ended up leaving the gang to journey with the party. And because he had reunited with his brother, and was like, hey, I'm getting out of the gang life because now my brother's here and he has, like, a stable job. And it was really, really fun and really cool to see, like, how all of these players of, like, differing skill levels approached the, like, how do I want to build my progression, and how even in the final moments they got to all have their moments to shine and to do the things that they wanted to do. Because, like, the whole thing that we've been culminating to is one of the great mysteries of any Eberron campaign is the Day of the Morning, and the mass extinction event that was caused by the last day of the 100 Years' War, or what everyone else calls the Last War, very aspirationally. It's very analog to when in the 1920s and the 1910s, the world collectively decided to call what we now call World War I the Great War, or the war to end all wars. Little did they know that 20 years later, there would be World War II, and it would be even worse. And so very aspirational. Similarly, in Eberron, there had been this 100-year-long conflict to settle a dispute on who was going to be the next king or queen of the country. And it went on forever and ever. And the only reason that it ended is because one morning, called the Day of Mourning, Mouring, there was a bright light and a sudden silent thing, and then rolling mist around the entire of the central country of the continent of Khorvaire, previously known as Sire, now known as the Mournland, that killed everyone that was there instantaneously, and then created this magical interference that if you go into it, bad things happen to you. That is largely undiscovered, and no one knows what caused it, or how it happened, or what it is. Like, it's just one of the great mysteries. And when you read any number of source books and things about Eberron when you're trying to set up your own campaigns there, one of the things that Keith makes very apparent, who is the designer of this setting, is that there are multiple things about Eberron that in official media, and even in his media that he makes on the side, since he still like actively writes a blog and does a whole bunch of stuff about Eberron-based content, will never be answered. And one of the key ones that every DM or every storyteller that wants to tell a story in Eberron has to confront is, in your version of events, what caused the mourning, and is it fixable? Because it is the thing that, like, every great power in this world is concerned about. Because, like, the only reason the war is over is because no one knows what caused the mourning, and if it's something that could happen multiple times, all of these leaders of all of these different countries don't want their country to be the next one to be mourninged, because then all of their constituents die and they don't get to be in power. You know, a real problem. And so it's just this whole thing. And so our whole bit, and I had been foreshadowing this against my players' knowledge for the full 3.5 years from day one, when I told them that I had named the campaign Echoes in the Mist. And our whole thing that we were doing is that the big bad at the end of this all is that they had gone through years and years of, like, in-game and real-world time to learn a whole bunch of things about the truth of the world and about the powers that be, about the hidden shadow wars that are going on in the background between the countries, about the various powers outside of the continent of Khorvaire that are also vying for power, the fall of the giants, all of these other things, to find out that the original rulers of Eberron were the demons. They are now known as the Overlords. Most of them have been locked away for hundreds of thousands of years, and there's not much to do about it. But that they did learn that in at least my version, or this version of my Eberron, I thought that the only reasonable explanation for what could have caused a mass extinction event like the Mourning was one of these Overlords being released from its seal. And so they had learned all of these things and got to do that. And so we got to spend, I think in total, 10 hours straight on Saturday, starting playing somewhere around 4:35. I don't think we wrapped the game until about 2 a.m. I don't think people left until closer to 3. Of just... Once we had learned all these things, we reconnected with the brother's mom, we met the Lord of the Blades. They had concocted a really bad plan of how to deal with this. The players then got to do a live planning session of they planned how they were going to deal with it, which involved convincing their mom to betray the Lord of Blades and abandon her plan that she spent the past several years thinking about, and trusting them that they could also deal with this problem. And then they had to go, and in the seat of power for this, like, unworldly entity that used to rule all of creation, they had to try and find a way to either imprison it or do it, or what they did, which none of them thought was possible, of kill it, and then instead of imprisoning it in the seat of its power, which they were going to have to use like one of their wish spells to do and hope that it worked, they were able to subdue it, and then before some great calamity happened again, the cleric had a talisman of pure good that it was able to, after they had burned all of this Overlord's legendary resistances, dragged it out of all of the anti-magic fields that it created, beaten it down to 0 hit points, where it was about to do, like, very raid boss in an MMO like party wipe move. He was able to force it to make a dex save that I even rolled for anyways, even if it couldn't have passed. And it failed to get swallowed up into the central underworld of Eberron for who knows how long. But they had saved the day. They had undone the morning. They had reinstalled Kyber, reinstalled Sire as like a habitable zone, sort of. It wasn't actively being irradiated anymore. And we got to get to our resolution. It was a lot of fun. And like, even with all of my trying and with like, I threw probably a group of 4 level 20 adventurers into, if I was doing the math on it, probably a deadly fight for like a party of maybe 8 level 20 adventurers. Like, there was like the big bad that was almost unkillable because they made anti-magic zones, and then they were immune to anything other than magical damage. So like, as long as they were in their anti-magic zones, you couldn't deal damage to them. So like, that was the main problem they had to solve. But they had 2 fighters, and so the fighters, both just with really high strength scores, were able to just like drag the literal big bad out of their anti-magic zones so that everyone could start ganking them. They were surrounded by all of these like high-level fiends that were their lieutenants and stuff like that. It was really, really dope. But admittedly, what it did mean is I had planned for us to play from like 4 p.m. to midnight. I was like, 8 hours should be enough time to like get through this. When I didn't get people out of the house until 3 a.m. and then I didn't get to sleep until 4 just because I was trying to come off of the high of DMing that for that long, and like the end of a plan and the end of like a 3.5 year long saga. Understandably, I was a little high energy. And that led to Sunday. I had a really important family event at like 12:30 that I went to bed at 4, and I'm like, cool, if I get 8 hours of sleep, I'm waking up at noon, I have to get dressed, and I have to just immediately drive out to this family event that I cannot miss. It is a very, very important event in my younger brother's life that I even if I didn't have a great relationship with my brother, which I have a wonderful relationship with my family, they're the most supportive of this change that any family could have been, and I love them dearly and desperately. Even if I didn't have that going for me, this is one of those things, it's like one of those lifetime events that you just can never miss. Like, there's no excuse in the world for missing something like this. And so I was like, immediately went to bed way later than I wanted to. And then, because I had something so important, that I'm like, if I just let my body do what it's going to want to do naturally, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep, and then I'm going to be late to this thing that I cannot be late for. I then proceeded to have the worst night's sleep that I've had in months. It was just horrible. I wear my Apple Watch every night to go to sleep because I'm trying... I am a person that has, like, lifelong issues with sleep and, like, insomnia and stuff like that. And one of the things that I've been trying to do in the past year or so is get a better handle on that and build healthier sleep patterns. And so I've been using my Apple Watch when I sleep to track my sleep cycles and to give me a sleep score to like, how well am I actually sleeping and am I doing that? And I think I got like a 20 Saturday to Sunday. Like, it was so abysmally bad. Like, I did not sleep well. But the event went really well. My brother did a really good job. He killed it out of the park. He's going to continue killing it. We had a party with all of the extended family afterwards, and so I got to have that, and it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I really genuinely enjoyed it, and I'm grateful for all the people that came out to support him. It really meant a lot. And then after the party ended, I was just like sitting around my parents' house because I like to hang out at my parents' house usually on Sundays for like family dinner and just like spend time with my family because I am blessed to have the opportunity to do so. And as I was doing that, everyone was just like, "You look so tired," as I'm just like dying, falling asleep. And I was able to stay awake until like just after dinner. So it was like 6:30 yesterday. And then my parents were like, "You look so tired. Like, you shouldn't be driving. Like, you should go like just take a nap. Maybe you'll feel better and then you can go home later tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'll just go lay down for a minute." And so at like 6 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I went to go lay down. Just like close my eyes. I'll get like a 20-minute power nap or something, then I'll be good to go, and then I can get home later tonight and be ready for getting all the work done that I need to do to be ready to go today and do all that stuff. And I close my eyes, and the next thing I know, I am dying of thirst. I'm just absolutely parched. And, like, my eyes are so, like, tired that it was physically painful to open them. Like, not in a, like, I have a headache way or thing like, just, like, they were so heavy that, like, the effort I needed to exert to open my eyes caused physical pain. And I was like, oh, I don't think I've been asleep for 20 minutes. And I check my watch, and it has been 5.5 hours that I just slept straight through. And I was like, oh, I was, like, beyond exhausted. And so, like, I went up and I got a drink, and I just spent the night at my parents' house last night, which is great that I have the opportunity to do so. But once again, not a super comfortable night's sleep, because it's just, like, it's when you're sleeping in not your own bed, it's always slightly worse than when you're sleeping in your own bed. Not that the bed that I have at my parents' house isn't comfortable, but it's just, it's not mine, you know? It's not. And so I had a 5.5 hour nap yesterday into sleeping for another, like, 7 hours overnight. And then I still woke up this morning, and to this day, and, like, to this moment, I'm still just one of those where I'm like, man, I am exhausted. Because it is just one of those of, like, I very much believe in the theory and the proof of just, like, there's no such thing as synthetic emotion. At least as far as our bodies are concerned. So, like, to explain the theory, it's essentially when you experience something, and this is very much more prevalent in acting. This is at least where I know the theory from my years and years of training in stage acting and in theatrical roles and things like that, is that when you're trying to embody a character and play a part, inevitably in doing that, you have to pretend that you are going through all of the experiences that character is going through, whether that's great loss, whether that's intense joy, whatever it is. And especially on a stage or in a movie or on a TV show or even on a stream like this, you have to take what you would normally feel in those instances, that normal expenditure of energy, and ramp it up to, like, minimum 11. Sometimes even more than that, like, especially if you're doing a melodrama or things like that. You need to just really over-enunciate, over-emote, things like that. And so you do things like that, and the thing is like, when you're doing that, you are creating what is known as synthetic emotion, because, like, you are not, as a person, genuinely feeling those feelings. Like, it would be inhumane, excuse me, to say that the only way that you could truly play, like, Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof is you have to be a 60-year-old Jewish man in Russia who is trying to sell off his daughters while living in the Yiddish settlements of Russia in a time of political turmoil. Like, that's just not because if you do say that, trying to find that person, there's not that many people that would, like, less than 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the world could then play that role. But to put yourself in the shoes of that person is the job of an actor, and to do that, you need to be able to pretend well enough to feel those emotions that you can get that reaction out of your, and you get that emotion across in your performance. The theory behind that, though, that they teach you when you're taking these classes and learning how to do these things, and when you're working in theaters and in productions and things like that, is to get that across as genuinely as possible. The weird thing about synthetic emotions and these things that you're doing is that your body, like your physical, actual body that you experience the world with, cannot differentiate with its responses between those strong emotional impulses, whether they are real, like you have gone through them yourselves, or if you're doing it well enough, imagining and synthesizing what it would like to be, that the response at a physical level is the same. And so, was I, as a DM, in the crypt of Sulkatesh this weekend, trying desperately to rot my evil plans and being thwarted at every level by my 20th level adventuring party that were just, honestly, much to their credit, styling on me at every turn? No. I was in my basement with 4 of my closest friends who I love dearly playing a game. But does that mean that at the end of the day, when we were done, I wasn't completely emotionally and physically spent from 10 hours of putting my heart into my craft and doing what I do to tell a great story? No, I was. And I still to this day am. But hopefully that was enough story time for you all. We're going to probably have more in-depth on, like, the actual campaign and how things went during our, like, talk about things section of the stream that we do on Thursday for our pre-stream conversation on Thursday, which is a great segue to updates on the schedule this week. I don't have any stuff for the actual job going on this week, so we're going to be streaming every single day. Back to your regularly scheduled Jank Drawer content. I hope you enjoy it. One caveat to it is that the Monday game that I used to be running that has been on hiatus for the last little while due to personal things going on in the lives of my players is coming off of hiatus. So going forward, starting probably next week, we're going to have an adjustment to Magic Mondays, and that this will probably transition from being like a 2 to 6 to probably like a 1 to 5 or potentially even like a noon to 4. Just like an earlier time slot. Same amount of time, but just earlier in the day. And then, as a trial run of that, this Thursday, we are also going to be doing our Darkest Dungeon stream in that early time slot. Just to see what it is. We did an early time slot a couple of weeks ago when I had to do an afternoon meeting for the job that I ended up getting up at the university. And I may or may not have conversed and supplanted my way into a business opportunity around Magic the Gathering content creation with some other friends and a local game store this weekend during that incredibly fatigued, like, kind of out of it phase. But because of that, I now have a very important meeting Thursday evening with one of the owners of a local game store here to see what we could do in like a content creation space, both involving his game store and promoting his game store, as well as making just more Magic the Gathering content. And so I need to do that Thursday evening. And because of that and just of other things, like if that goes on and it can become a thing that we're doing, we then get to have like a local tie-in. It could lead to like an actual local sponsorship thing. It brings more people on board for like the creation team, because the idea of the content that we wanted to be creating isn't mine. It is 2 of my very good friends that I've been playing in the local scene with for a while. But they have a cool content idea that I think is really fun. I have the expertise and knowledge, as well as now the following and the platform to be like, hey, instead of having to grow something from scratch, I'm already like a little bit further ahead on that of like, if we make it and I release it on my channel, we'll get immediately, even like our video that we put out last week on a format that I don't enjoy playing and that I think is not necessarily a very well viewed format on YouTube, which was our Brawl midweek metagame. Even that video got 64 views this week, which is double our last Brawl. Actually, it's more than triple our last Brawl video, which is ridiculous. So, like, I have the knowledge, the know-how, and I also have all of the, like, physical materials, and, like, I have the mics we could use, I have the lights set up, I have the editing software. So I was just like, they came up with a really cool idea that I overheard, and I just kind of supplemented myself of like, hey, if you want to make this real, I have a channel that we can use that I'm already actively making Magic content on. I have all of the gear. Like, we could get this going immediately. And they were just like, well, we want to see if this store will work with us. And the owner of the store reached out in the chat and was like, hey, let's meet sometime this week and talk about it. And I was like, hey, if this can pilot in or like pivot into like a way to, even if it's just like letting us use his store's facilities and things like that to like make a better quality product and do a whole bunch of fun stuff, that would be huge. If it can also avenue into like me trying to angle shoot this into like a part-time gig that I get paid to like do stuff promotional wise for his store, also great. That would also be a dream come true. But like we've got that going on Thursday. So because of that, we're going to time trial essentially this like earlier in the day stream for the Thursday stream this week. And then Friday is going to be our first intentional use of the split day of like, we're going to open Friday while most people are at work and I can't get Abby to be available to do some Monster Hunter, or even just other community members do Monster Hunter. We'll start the day doing our Football Fridays where we'll talk about football news and do stuff like that. And then we'll transition towards the end of the evening into another, starting from like 5 p.m. going onward, Monster Hunter stream of just trying to keep playing Monster Hunter World and see what goes from there. But that's going to be the content plan for the week. I hope you guys look forward to it. I hope you guys really enjoy it. I'm really excited just because I genuinely enjoy doing this all for you guys. I'm loving the support. I'm loving the growth. Even to see the massive growth on the midweek metagame that came out last week, because like when I was making it, I was like, this is just, I don't think going to be as relevant as like when we do the limited ones or when we do the budget standard or the budget popper kind of things of like, these are very much like, this is a thing you can do with a budget. Brawl is just a much less popular format. It's a much harder format to build for. It took a lot more of our resources. I was genuinely worried, but to see that, like, yes, there was definitely a knockoff in viewer retention and things like that. But even then, like, this is still way more views than we have ever gotten on any of the other things. If like, even our Phantom Sealed ECL did worse than this. Our last Brawl thing got literally 19 views, and we got 64 in less than a week on this one. Like, we're doing great, and if we can continue to spiral that into like actual tangible assets of like, hey, I'm working with local businesses, I'm working with the community, potentially we could be working with like real businesses that want to sponsor the channel, and then we're getting additional income. It would be great. It would be really, really cool, and I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that we can continue to do that. So that's the plan. We love strengthening the local community. This is also like a local community store that I've been going to for a very long time, and I am really like, I know the owner. I know a lot of the people that go there. It's a great place. They do really good things for the community. They're definitely a pillar of at least the local Magic scene. Like the fact that he's willing to even have the meeting with us is like, his exact thing is like, he also has stuff for the store that is like equipment and stuff, but he just doesn't have the motivation to do it. And so my pitch to him was, I'm like, hey, I've got the motivation and the technical training to be able to do this, and also all the time in the world on my hands. And so if that can become just even a, like, getting involved there, I don't need this to be a full-time job or a thing like that. And I honestly would like to get paid, but don't even need to get paid. But if it could just get me a way to get another, similar to the job we have at the university, if it's a way to get a foot in a door that can become something that lets us do the thing that I love to do, which is being creative and telling the stories and putting together these narratives that I do with all of you. And if I can even get paid to do that, even if it's a little bit, that is a huge, huge dream come true moment. Because I love doing stuff like this. It's just generally you can't do stuff like this because it takes money to live in the world, and you doing this doesn't pay a ton of money. But I'm not afraid to chase my dream. That being said, let's chase some dreams here. We are deep into the new account challenge here. As I have now revealed, we are at 59-56. We went on a really bad losing streak at the beginning of last week's stream on our Magic Monday. And then we clawed our way back in Standard with our Standard deck that I think I'm going to make a video on just on its own in the future here to go along with some of the midweek stuff. Because I think that we've stumbled onto something that isn't great, but it is very much, I want to show kind of that in between, because I know the whole conceit of the challenge is that I wanted to see how difficult it would be to go from absolute zero on the account to like a playable deck that we could contend with and that we can get there. And it took us at this point almost 3 months But we're at a point where we're like, we are, I would say, 75% to a real deck. Like, are we all the way there? No. But we are way closer than we thought we would be in this kind of time frame. And admittedly, we did get pretty lucky on that. But we're still very, very far away, specifically on like our mana base and on our sideboard. And I mean, even our main board from the actual best version of a deck like this. But we have done a lot of work to try and get to that point that I think is going to go very, very well. And where we're at now is a video that we could do similar to our budget things of just like, what's an interim between like a goal to shoot for between the starter decks that they give you at the beginning of the campaign and like these decks that are going to be meta defining and things like that. Because like, are we perfect? No. Are we even close to perfect? Also no. But we've made some good progress, and I think there's a lot to be learned from what we've been doing. That being said, we're going to jump into some games. As you can see, we're a little bit off from being able to do our draft for this week. We are still going to be quick drafting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We'll probably end with that. In the build-up, we will do trying to get these across. Where it will be interesting is that we don't really have a way to cast white or black spells. But we should be able to, as long as we can get one win, we'll cast enough blue spells and we'll play enough lands that once we get these, we'll be able to get into the quick draft. Along the way, we'll also get some packs, so we can do some more pack openings and things like that. It'll be fun. As a reminder, here is the deck that we have been using. This budget 5-color Rhythm. The only white cards that we have in our deck that would help us with our white thing is Bright Glass Gearhulk and Seam Rip. In the sideboard, we have more copies of Seam Rip that can help us get to that. We do have red cards in Leyline Weaver and Explosive Prodigy. But obviously, we are very base green. This is built off of the very powerful engine that is Badgermole Cub. Badgermole Cub, just making it so whenever you tap a creature for mana, you add additional mana, played alongside things like Gene Pollinator, Llanowar Elves, Leyline Weaver, and then Badgermole Cub itself also having Earthbound 1, making it so that all of our lands become creatures that then now tap for 2. Is so that we can try and power out really big spells. We then have Nature's Rhythm and Formidable Speakers so that we can tutor up specifically the spells that we want to be powering out. Quantum Riddler is a draw engine. And then specifically, we are playing a version of Rhythm, which is what this is called. It's named after Nature's Rhythm, the tutor spell that we play of choice. We're playing the Gearhulk version, just so we're playing essentially a toolbox version of the deck that can hopefully be less overtly powerful, but make up for that by being able to tech for specific matchups better than others. So you play the very, very powerful card Bright Glass Gearhulk. It's a 4-mana 4/4 artifact creature construct with First Strike and Trample. And when it enters, we can search for up to 2 artifact creature and/or enchantments with mana value 1 or less, reveal them, and put it into our hands and shuffle. Usually that's going to get us a Mockingbird, and then either our Soul Guide Lantern, our Seam Rip, or another one of our mana dorks. Mockingbird, because we can cast it again for 4 mana and get a second copy of Bright Glass Gearhulk, and then we just are making multiple Bright Glass Gearhulks, and getting more Mockingbirds and more answers. But then also Seam Rip to just deal with target permanents that are a problem, or Soul Guide Lantern against graveyard strategies that are actually pretty rampant in the current meta, just so that we can get rid of graveyards really easily, and we can tutor them up. We also then have just a whole bunch of other one-ofs in here. Champion of the Weird is a very good creature. Just allows you to trade like a whole bunch of your little dorks for your opponent's creatures, because it's just pay a life, put 2 -1/-1 counters on any creatures you control. Your opponent has to put 2 -1/-1 creatures on counters on creatures they control. Essentially, you pay a bunch of life and you can just kill a whole bunch of creatures. Ouroboros is our finisher of choice. Just make all of our creatures really, really big. And then Kavero is just a copy of any of our creatures in our deck, or any of the creatures in our opponent's deck, that we can tutor for 6 mana with Nature's Rhythm. Or if we get really lucky with like our Shimmer Wilds growths, or our starting towns, or our multiversal passages, we can just play. And then Aurora Awakener is the mythic that we have opened that we are playing. In most decks, you would want this to be your actual finisher in your deck, your top end, which is a singleton copy of Craterhoof Behemoth. But we haven't crafted a Craterhoof Behemoth. We probably will never craft a Craterhoof Behemoth, because the second we do, the value that can come out of opening any miscellaneous packs of Tarkir Dragonstorm that we might get in the history of the playthrough goes down significantly. And we never really need more than one. And so we want to have the highest possible chance of, like, if we get random Tarkir Dragonstorm packs, we get the cards that we really, really want out of it. But until then, we have Aurora Awakener, which especially goes well with our Explosive Prodigy. We have sneakily 5 colors that we can get to here with the creatures in our deck, between Gearhulk, Kavero, Explosive Prodigy, Quantum Riddler. Like, we can get to all 5 colors. And then when we play our Aurora Awakener, it's a 7 mana 7/7 with Trample, but also it will then cast us 5 more permanents. And even if you're casting like 3 or 4, 7 mana for like 4 permanents into play is really, really good. And usually just resolving Aurora Awakener at this point wins us games. But yeah, that's the main strategy. We also now only have about 8 days before the end of the season, and so we want to try and climb as high as possible to make sure that we get the best possible rewards at the end of the season for our end of season rewards. Because the whole thing that we're doing here is we're trying to just build up a collection, and we need to build a collection by opening packs and getting wild cards. And so we're trying to do all of the things that we can to get the most, like the highest number of cards for free, because we're not putting any money into the account. This seems like a really good hand if we can draw into something to do. Like, this is a very mana intensive hand. We don't have anything to do with our mana, but we do have a lot of mana. I don't like that our opponent has lead on Basic Mountain, because it... Okay. This is honestly better. They're playing elementals, not mono red and not lessons. Elementals is still a bad matchup for us. I don't want to lull anyone into a false sense of security that this is a good matchup. This is still a really bad matchup for us. But it's a better matchup than mono red would have been. With 4 mana, I don't really know what our opponent's going to try and do here. They have, honestly, so many options. That's kind of what I expected. Although I'm surprised that they tapped that way for it. We're going to play the Blossoming Sands. Going to play Badgermole Cub, number 2. Make this Temple Garden. Let's play Leyline Weaver. Formidable Speaker. Discard this Llanowar Elf. I think honestly we just want to grab our Ouroboros. Because the annoying thing that would happen this turn is if they... We honestly really don't want to get Sunderflocked this turn. And I think if they play a land, they have Sunderflock mana. Although that makes me feel like they are going to be playing Vibrance. Because, like, what else would... Yeah, exactly. There you go. Vibrance. And it's with double red and double green. So they're going to kill our Leyline Weaver. And then put a land from their graveyard... From their library into play... Into their hand. And gain 2 life. They got Riverfire Verge. So they still sneakily have 3 mana. Okay. So they are going to play another Elemental. They got a Mountain. Okay. Honestly, of the things they could have gotten, Mountain is one that I'm willing to accept. Let's target this land. Let's make it blue, because then we can actually cast this Mockingbird. We'll cast this Ouroboros. And then we will pay X equals 3. Copy the Ouroboros. So the real hope is that our opponent doesn't have a Sunderflock in hand. Because they definitely can Sunderflock. Their Sunderflock now costs, I think, 3. And they have 8 mana. The fact that they're flipping their Ashling leads me to believe that they don't have Sunderflock in hand and are trying to dig for it. No, they did! Okay, they were just teasing us. So they bounce our entire hand, which is less than ideal. Because, like, this really blows us out because most of our creatures were lands. And Sunderflock bounced them all to our hands, so now we have 0 mana in play. Which is not good. Twin Flame Travelers here, making them infinite mana. So, it depends on the group. Like, my ideal campaign length, Midnight Campaign, entirely depends on who I'm playing with and what the group consensus is. Which I know is kind of a cop-out answer, but we have to block here because if we don't, we die. I really enjoy campaigns that I think go closer to, like, maybe a year to 6 months. A lot of it depends on, like, how much, like, how in depth of a story are we trying to tell? What is the idea behind our story? And a lot of things like that. We don't want X equals 5. We want X equals 4. So, like, if you can tell the entire story you want to tell in a series of, like, several months, then that's totally fine. In my experience, I usually get players that want to tell a story that's more involved than that. But I also understand that people don't really have, like, 2 years. It also depends on what you're trying to do. Like, are you trying to make a campaign to be for people that are going to be, like, strangers you meet at a bar? Because that one you want it to be, like, a session, maybe 2 at most. if it's people that you know are going to be able to commit to a long time, I think the shortest campaign I've run is a year and a half. But a lot of it is, like, all of those things depend on context, if that makes sense. But I love just the act of telling stories so much that for me, it really doesn't matter. Like, I will have my story be as long as possible. Okay, can we draw a thing with reach? No. But we can get one. Discard this guild gate. Go grab a Leyline Weaver. Play a Leyline Weaver. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question, but it is also like, I don't know, I like long campaigns. I think that there's like nothing in my life that I love. Rug is teamer, yes. The misleading thing about this Elementals deck is it's secretly 5 colors. Because they're just playing all of the new Evoke Elementals. No Evoke Elemental incarnations. Okay, cool. We have lost game 1. Okay, we're good. So we want to bring in our big counter spells. We don't need our Soul Guide Lantern. We don't need our Keynote. Yeah, it's either a lucky draw on their end with the Sunderflux. They also got a whole bunch of... I mean, I don't think that that's a bad thing, Midnight Campaign, of like... I think a lot of it genuinely depends on the groups that you're with and what the expectations of the group as a whole are. And that you can't really plan for anything other than your specific groups. I've been very generous and very lucky. No, you're all good. Very lucky in that most of the people that I've been playing D&D games with, when we have the conversation of like, how long are you willing to do this? They're just like, I don't know, I'll kind of do this for as long as it takes. And I'm like, cool, you don't know what you just signed up for, but I'll give it to you. And then we play for the next 3.5 years of their lives and we become lifelong friends. But I know that I am an exception to a rule, not a proof. I mean, an exception, not a rule. But yeah, no, I don't know that they were lucky to do Sunderflux, because, like, Sunderflux is the whole thing that this deck is trying to do. Like, that's the whole point of the deck, is we're gonna play Sunderflux. Fair enough. Fair enough. And that's the thing, is, like, the reason that my campaigns take that long, too, is it's like, this last campaign that I did, we played for 3.5 years. And in that 3.5 years, we played maybe our longest stretch of consecutive play was, I think, our longest unconstructed time of play in general was like maybe 2 weeks. Like, it was not a long window. So we are being less than optimal just so that we can play this Explosive Prodigy. to blow up their Flame Braider so they don't have 5 mana next turn to start casting Elemental Incarnations. To the point that, like, we're probably going to just... unfortunately have leftover mana to make another Explosive Prodigy to blow up this Flame Braider to keep our opponent off mana. And hold up this Disdainful Stroke. Because, like, the only thing that we lose to is our opponent playing a Sunderflock. And so we need to have our Disdainful Stroke. The thing is, they're going to have 4 Sunderflocks in their deck, and they're going to have as many ways to possibly draw a Sunderflock as possible. We are actually going to just pitch this Formidable Speaker out there. Play this. Go get... another Badgermole Cub. Make Multiversal Passage into a land. Unfortunately, a 1/4 just, like, blocks literally everything. We also just have only drawn 3 lands, and so we needed to just make a way to get more mana. Okay, they're gonna kill my flying Explosive Prodigy. Rude, but I understand. Play this Leyline Weaver. Attack with all of these 2-powered creatures. They can only block one of them, and most importantly, all of them have at least 2 toughness, so they don't die to this Flamekin. Maybe not the best idea, because that Giant Fall is an instant. There we go. This is the entire thing we've been trying to hold on to this Disdainful Stroke for. Cool, and with that, we have, I think, won game 2. There we go, there we go. This is not a good matchup for us. This is a deck... So, history behind the decks that we are playing and the deck that we were playing against. The deck we are playing is a... budget version of the most popular deck from the last Pro Tour. Notice the operative word there being most popular and not best, because this is in fact not the best deck. The best deck from the last Pro Tour, there's a lot of contention for that, but one of the at least ones that had the best win rate and was doing very well was a version of the deck we are playing against, which is Elementals. Except for instead of being actually Elementals like this one is, which is all in on playing Ashling the Pilgrim, and a whole bunch of the other cheap Elementals, and then top-ending yourself into playing Sunderflock and all of the Evoke Elementals. Whereas the more popular version was a just blue-red version of the deck that was called Is it Spelementals? And Is It Spelementals is a very, very good deck. It's much more low to the ground, much more tempo-y. This is much more of a, I'm going to try and go over the top kind of strategy. That is generally harder to deal with. I think we are going to discard this. Just get our Ouroboros. Play our Ouroboros. Go get our Explosive Prodigy. Blow up the Flame Braider. Keep him down to as little mana as possible. Spelementals is a not just a killer deck title, Midnight Campaign, it's a killer deck. It kills people dead. I'm sure you will, Midnight Campaign. And like, my time has opened up for a little bit here because I'm in between campaigns, but it's not really that open. We're gonna play this big Aurora Awakener and get a whole bunch of free spells. I'll take this. Honestly, I'll just take another land. It's a land with flying, even. It is fun. It's great. Cancel. Ooh, we can get anything. So let's do this. We're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna just play X equals 5. We're gonna tap this Aurora Awakener. Tap this. Tap this. Untap our Leyline Weaver. We'll go get Quantum Riddler, draw 2 cards. Just play another Leyline Weaver and another Elf. Untap. There. Attack with the team, start getting pressure in. No, it's super fun to talk about this stuff. And like that's see the reason that I stopped playing D&D as a player was entirely because I have so many players, like so many characters I want to play that realistically I could never play them all. And so the only way that I'm able to actually play them is if I'm the DM. So we'll play this land for turn. Let's play our Badgermolt Cub. And then we can play Leyline Weaver, Llanowar Elf. And then we have to discard 2 cards. We'll discard a Seam Rip, and we'll discard a Llanowar Elf. Our opponent's going to get more Flamekins. Yeah, no, it's super fun. And that's why I DM as much as I do, is because it's just like playing as a DM means that I get to play all of the various character ideas I have, but they're all NPCs. And then I can play multiple of them in the same campaign instead of having to play a campaign as just my one original NPC the entire time. And I just find that more fun. So I don't know what our opponent's going to do here. They're going to probably just Ashling, discard some cards, draw some cards. Let's hope they discard some dope cards. Because we could Nature's Rhythm for Kavero. Oh, they discarded nothing and drew nothing. Interesting. We will let this 5 through. That's not how we win this game. Play this Simic Guildgate. We'll tap. 4. Play the Ouroboros. Untap the Leyline Weaver. Play the Llanowar Elf. Replay the Aurora Awakener, get some more free spells. Put this into play, put this into play. Let's discard a Gene Pollinator. Let's go grab another Badgermole Cub. Play another Leyline Weaver. Put counters on everything. Attack with the Explosive Prodigy. Our opponent's going to get the opportunity to play a billion creatures this turn, should they want to. Because they're going to have infinite mana. The question is, do we lose if they play another Sunderflock? And I don't think we do. Because, like, Sunderflock, they bounce all of our creatures again. We rebuild again. As long as we have at least one Leyline Weaver. Okay, so getting Vibrance and Deceit is rude. They don't have black mana for their Deceit, though, so they can only bounce permanents with their Deceit. But they do have enough mana to... They don't have enough mana to Vibrance and Deceit this turn. They're one short. So they're just going to full Deceit, and then they're going to bounce Aurora Awakener? Honestly, of the permanents of mine that you could bounce to my hand, that seems like the worst one. Not gonna lie to my opponent here. Oh, they can bounce 2. Forget that they have the Roaming Tone, so they can make 2 bounces. Ouroboros and Aurora Awakener is honestly probably fine. We can take one more attack from this Sunderflock. Let's play this. Let's make a Badgermole Cub. We'll make the Blossoming Lands. That's a flyer. We'll tap our Leyline Weavers for Ouroboros so they can untap themselves. We can tap them again for the Aurora Awakener. Our Aurora Awakener can get us 2 more lands. We can do 4 mana and X equals 4, tapping the Aurora Awakener. Go get the Bright Glass Gearhulk. Bright Glass. Go get us a Mockingbird. Honestly, a Seam Rip is probably not bad here. We can Seam Rip the Ashling. Okay, our opponent's seen enough. There we go. So I was going to Mockingbird, get us another copy of Ouroboros, and then we have a wide enough team that's big enough that we can just get a whole bunch of stuff on. And that got us all the way to gold. There we go. We got a nice 2-1 in our win-loss. Go up to 61-57. There we go. Ooh. We got an achievement. We got some packs, core achievements. We reached gold rank in Constructor Limited. Let's go. There we go. And then color masteries. We had 12 or more cards in our hand. Perfect. Claim. Cool. And then let's open a pack. Let's do that, shall we, chat? Sorry, you get to see my vertical thing. This is how I film behind the scenes, all of the shorts. Okay. Let's see what we get out of this pack. It is a rare. We also got another rare wild card. This is a 2-for-1 deal. We got another common and uncommon. We'll have both of those. This is, I think, our third Leonardo Big Brother. Once again, I think this is the best Leonardo in the set. It just does the most things. It has the highest potential, especially if you're sneaking it in. Like, there's a deck that you can definitely build around this Leonardo. And we might do that for our next standard popper when we have to do that again. Other than that, nothing really impressive here. Let's see what we get for our rare, and it is, honestly, the best rare we could have gotten, a rare wild card. This can become any rare in the entire game, and we have so many that we would like to make. Gives us 2 rare wild cards out of that pack. Honestly, huge pickup for this new account. Okay, with that, we now just need to start finishing these up. So we want to do 7 more blue spells and 9 more lands. So let's go do that. One more. See, the other issue that I have in Midnight Campaign, going back to our conversation about so many things to play and so little time, is that I have a similar but different problem in that as a person that runs games, I also usually get every new campaign setting and adventure that comes out from Wizards of the Coast as they come out and read them. And so I don't have necessarily a ton of players, although I do have a ton of like characters that I want to play in games. More than that, I have like infinite campaigns that I want to run and not enough time to run them. I think we'll keep this. Like, honestly, a Keen-Eyed Curator on 3 isn't bad. Especially if this ends up being like a Lessons deck, which it looks like it would be. They're screaming very Avatar The Last Airbender set across from us, Rainbow Bash. And leading with Avatar the Airbender last Basic Island leads me to believe, oh, we are going to be playing against Lessons. And Keen-Eyed Curator on 3 is really good for us into the Lessons deck. Because we can start just eating Lessons out of their graveyard. Especially drawing a Weaver, so we can go Weaver on 2. So we have 2 extra mana for our Curator next turn. Oh! That was not what I expected. I can honestly say I did not expect our opponent to play another... to play their own Leyline Weaver. That was unexpected. So we'd love to draw a multiversal passage so we can start casting these Quantum Riddlers, but... Okay, so some sort of Grixis deck, although they do have green mana off of this Leyline Weaver. Buster Sword is interesting. We'll float a red mana off this Quantum Riddler. Play this land. Discard the Quantum Riddler. Unfortunately, I think we just have to... Now that they've played this Buster Sword, this Buster Sword is going to kill us. So we will just kill their creature so that they don't have a creature to equip a Buster Sword to. So there's a Leyline Weaver. They don't have Buster Sword equip. Oh, they do have Buster Sword equip mana. Okay, starting town is annoying. But we can eat... instant creature. We only have creature in our graveyard, so we can't do anything about that. Well, in the turn, Leyline Weaver, we can block this turn multiple different ways. We just don't want them to ever hit us, because Buster Sword cares about combat damage to a player. So as long as we can have a wide enough board that they can never hit us, we don't actually have to worry about this Buster Sword at all. Yeah, but this is Grixis I don't know what that we're playing right now, chat. Oh, they're waiting on us. They have fast combat, and I have decided to do nothing. That's... It was just waiting for me to decide if I wanted... They could be a Grixis, they also don't know what. You're making a compelling point there, Rat King. The thing is, like, I've seen exactly 4 cards, and those 4 cards are Opt, Buster Sword, and 2 Leyline Weavers. And then Grixis lands. So... I'm not entirely certain what our opponent's game plan here is, other than they definitely want to hit us with this Buster Sword to draw a card and play a spell for free. And we just will never let them do that. Okay, we're going to play this Quantum Riddler to draw 2 cards. We'll make this Shimmer Wild's Growth a black permanent. And then we'll play... Okay, our opponent has seen enough in game 1. Unfortunately, I have no idea what our opponent is doing. Based off of what they're doing, though, Seam Rip can't be bad. And I don't know that we need the graveyard interaction. And, like, if they show us other things, we can bring in, like, our way to blow up artifacts and enchantments, or we can bring in, like, our ways to deal with creatures. Yeah. The thing is, our opponent has made it pretty far into the leveling up system and the ranked system to make it all the way to gold and also not know what they are doing. We'll keep this. Starting town on 1 into Llanowar Elves is not bad. Although I think we might actually... Now that we've drawn the Temple Garden, we're actually going to starting town Gene Pollinator. Because we can Temple Garden, Badgermole Cub, tap our Badgermole Cub, Llanowar Elves next turn. Shimmerwild's Growth is also crazy. We'll do this. Honestly, yeah, why not? I mean, there is a chance their deck does a very specific thing very well, and they got abandoned last round. Like, that is a very real thing that it could be true. We just don't get to... That's the thing about Magic the Gathering, is we don't get to know. And so that's why, like, me saying I don't know what our opponent's deck did is less of, like, an indictment of, like, our opponent doesn't know what they're doing, and it's more of a statement of just, like, their deck could have done everything that it was planning to do. We just didn't... We won in a short enough time frame that we didn't get to see what our opponent's deck was supposed to do. And because we didn't see what it was supposed to do, we don't know what it can do. Which is also not a great place to be in. But we're now in a position where it's just like, we are live to so many draws, we have like infinite mana. But like if our opponent plays a 1-drop with haste here and attaches so like this Kavero we just drew literally doesn't do anything. Because they have nothing in their graveyard, we have nothing in our graveyard. So if we played him, we would just play a 4-mana 4/4. And that's not good. But attacking for 7 when they're at 15, not bad. Okay, so like that's a real card. The thing is, like, our opponent has very real cards in there. Like Buster Sword's a real card. Merengue River Regent is a real card. Villainous Wrath is also a real card. We'll pick up this Badgermole Cup. So, like, yeah, they just did a whole bunch of damage to us and then killed all of our creatures. That's oof. But also, we now, once again, have a board. And are... So they're going to kill my Kavero. Grab another Badgermole Cub. Okay, so now we have to block this Summon Primal Odin. Oh, they can't. So this is... Okay, we found what our opponent's deck does. Oof, luff, egg, oof, oui. There's also oof, which is the creature in Magic the Gathering. So we found what our opponent's deck does. Is it good? No. Is it funny? Yes. And if their whole plan is, I play Summon Primal Odin with Rogue's Passage out, and then make it so you can't block my Primal Odin so that you die, it is incredibly hyper-specific. But it does mean that we can take out all the cards that we don't need for that matchup, and we can bring in cards that we do want for that matchup. Because there's like so many answers in our deck that are like, yeah, if they try to do this, we have so many ways to be like, okay, your card doesn't actually do anything. It's super funny. It's also funny that it's worked enough for them to get to this point. There we go. We have found what our opponent's deck does. And therefore, now we have answers for it. And our answers are, we brought in all of our ways to remove abilities or blow up enchantments. Let's play a Thornwood Falls. Let's play a Badgermole Cub. Do you have a removal spell for my Badger Mole Cub? If you do, I'd recommend playing it.
You don't? Okay.
Unfortunately, we have so much mana and nothing to do with it currently, but our opponent also is doing nothing, so I think we will be fine. Okay, so our opponent has just used a removal spell that could have been used to kill my Badger Mole Cub to put my land back into play and gain me a life. I don't know that our opponent understands how good of a removal spell Heartless Act was, and that they should have used it on any of my actual permanents in play. Let's play another Thornwood Falls. Let's play an Ouroboros. Now, their Heartless Axe can only remove counters from my creatures. Okay, so this is going to be an attack for 4, 5, so 4, 9, 13. Put my opponent to 1. Unless they have a removal spell. Which is funny that it means that this Heartless Act to kill my land to prevent 1 damage did matter. Because if they hadn't done it, we would have just killed them this turn. Do you have another Meringue River Regent in your hand? No, High Fate Trickster. Okay. So this is just kind of like Grixis cards I own with a combo finish. There's their Rogue's Passage. Honestly, this is gonna be big. They're gonna get to Buster Sword, hit me for 7, draw a card, and put a 7-drop into play. Which can be a Primal Odin. It's just a Heartless Act, though, so they're just gonna take all these counters off my Ouroboros and lose the game. Cool. We got there, though. Opponent's deck was very funny. It was not good, but it was interesting. And it got us all the way up to gold tier 3. There we go. 4 wins to start out the day off. 1,200 gold. Another pack. Another achievement. And now we're ready for our drafts. Oh yeah, if you can pull off the combo consistently, that's probably super dope to play. It is also just like a really honestly janky combo, which would fit perfectly with our branding. That is not that hard to interact with. They're onto an idea there that is interesting and worth exploring, but 100%, especially with all the ninjas we got going around. Okay, let's see what we got in this pack of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Drum roll, please, chat. It is really the only thing that we care about here is another Tenderize and another Michelangelo Mutant BFF. This is a pretty good card. Can we get a good rare? Splinter's Technique. Okay, this is a pretty good one. This would be great in the deck that we just faced. That person that was playing Grixis try to get Primal Odin and then use my Primal Odin and Rogue's Passage to one-shot you from 20. Because this is just 4 mana, search your library for any card, put into your hand and shuffle. Or if you're using your Rogue's Passages anyways, it's just 2 mana, return your attacking creature to your hand, search for any card and put it into your hand and then shuffle. Like, this is a card that they would have loved. It would have been great. Like, there's definitely a way to play a version of our opponent's deck that is just... If you're going to be so hyper-focused on this is the one thing that I know how to do, then, I mean, focus on that. We will love it instead, exactly. It can be our version of Splinter's technique. But do a quick stretch. And, let's do a quick draft. I mean, I know there are other draft options. I don't mind playing TMNT, but we don't really have anything out of the TMNT set that we need or want for the account. And we could also draft Foundations, which I think there are more cards in Foundations that we would want to have. Let me consult the archives, and by the archives I mean the massive Arena project spreadsheet that I have, where I have all of the cards that we have ranked from standard by importance of what we want, and then I can look at Foundations cards. So there is exactly like 4 cards that we want from Foundations. Is the reality of it. And the cards that we want from Foundations are Soulstone Sanctuary, Demolition Field, which I think is an uncommon. Unfortunately, for some reason, my spreadsheet is broken. And so it's not showing me rarity of these anymore. And then we want Day of Judgment and Essence Scatter. So that's 2 rares and 2 uncommons. But they are very important. And we haven't done any Foundations. And we've been doing a lot of TMNT. So I think I want to do at least one Flashback Foundations draft. Let's try it out. Okay. So, looking at our draft, honestly, not a lot of cards here that I'm super excited by. We could get another Loot, Exuberant Explorer, but he doesn't really see any play. We've got an Empyrean Eagle here, which is pretty good. If we want to go into blue-white flyers for this draft, just try to use a draft to maximize the amount of gems we get off of it. The recommendation... Shivan Dragons are always great. Shivan Dragons are great. 6 mana 5/5 with flying. It kills people dead. Recommendation is to do the Disciplined thing, which is Stab. Which I do get. It's just 1 mana kill spell. It's very good. Other than that, it's Refute and then Empyrean Eagle. But I don't have any problem with staying open and picking the Stab. It's just a good removal spell, and it's cheap. Similarly, Luminous Rebuke is just good, cheap removal. We have another Stab. Fake Your Own Death is interesting here. I mean, so the other card to pick from this pack is Angel of Finality, which I am more inclined to take. Fake Your Own Death is good if you have creatures that you want to return with powerful ETBs. Currently, we have drafted 3 removal spells, and we have 0 creatures. So I'd rather get my first creature than the Fake Your Own Death to go with the creature we inevitably draft. Because we are drafting a deck, though, that wants to care about killing creatures or creatures dying, I don't hate Infestation Sage. When it dies, we get a 1/1 flyer, and it's a 1/1 itself. Ooh, this is the payoff here. So this is our uncommon in our color combination. It's Fiendish Panda. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know that we play this a lot. We play this specifically in the 3 copies we have came in the black-white starter deck. Whenever you gain a life, you put a counter on it, and when it dies, return another non-bear creature card with mana value less than or equal to this creature's power from your battlefield to the graveyard. Fiendish Panda is great. We love Fiendish Panda. Now, to keep our Fiendish Panda going, though, we are going to have to find ways to gain life, so that's something we need to look out for. Until then, I don't mind taking Eaten Alive. It's either sack a creature, which we have creatures we want to sack, to play it for 1, or pay 5 mana for it, and it just exiles any target. It's really good. Now the Fake Your Own Death is better. We have Infestation Stages, we have Fiendish Pandas, we have, like, any of these creatures are ones that we would love to fake our own death with. With this now, let's pick Soulcaller. 5 mana, 3/2 flyer. It can't block, but it doesn't matter because it raised deads, so we can get our creatures back from our graveyard. We're just going to be like the most annoying deck ever to play against. Goldvein pick just goes in any deck. Here we can take Involuntary Employment, but I don't think we'll play it. Here's another Fake Your Own Death. The Juggernaut goes in any deck, and Spitfire Legak. Okay, so from here, I like Cat Collector. This is a very good rare, but it's a very good rare for, like, Brawl. And we aren't playing Brawl, we're playing Limited. It's also not a rare that we're looking for. Cat Collector, though, goes with everything that we're trying to do, in that it comes with a way to gain life, which is really good, because it makes a food token, and that goes with Cat Collector and our Fiendish Panda. And then it also, whenever we gain life for the first time during each of our turns, makes a cat token, which is just good. So it turns itself on, it works with our Fiendish Panda, it's a pretty good uncommon. We get another Eaten Alive out of this pack, which will be very good. Out of this pack, I think Sanguine Siphoner, and the robots agree with me. Just 2 mana, 1/3. Whenever it attacks, each opponent loses 1 life, and we gain 1 life. So that just goes with our Cat Collector, goes with our Fiendish Panda. The whole thing we were talking about is that we wanted to have cards that go with gaining life synergies, and this is our first thing that we've seen that gains us life. So we want to take that. Another Stab can't be bad, but Vengeful Blood Witch is good. I think Vengeful Blood Witch is better than Third Stab. Just because whenever any creature dies, our opponents lose a life and we gain a life, and we need more life gain synergies. Especially if we're going to be killing our Infestation Stages. Now, we have 2 options here that I think are really, really good. We've got Ajani's Pridemate, and we've got Felidar Savior. Felidar Savior is just another lifelinker. It's a 4 mana 2/3, but you can also put counters on other creatures you control. Infestation Stage is also good here. There's a lot of good creatures in this pack. I do think that the Pridemate is... I think the Pridemate is the best card in this pack, and I don't think it's close. The thing is that we are getting Pridemate at a 4.9, and we're getting Felidar Savior at a 5.2, and Infestation Sage at a 5.1. And then Hungry Ghoul, honestly, at a 4.9, and Squad Rally at a 4.9. Fine, I'll take Felidar Savior. It's our best card there. The thing is I'm happy taking any of those picks. All of those picks are good. Cathar Commando is the best card in this pack, and it's not close. Just 2 mana, 3/1 with Flash. If they ever have an annoying artifact or enchantment, we can just blow it up. It's a good thing to have. Good enough that we could take a second one here, but I'd like to diversify. The Squad Rallier, just look at the top 4 cards of your library. Creature card with power 2 or less from among them into our hand, and the rest on the bottom. Just a mana sink. It grabs our Siphoner, it grabs our Blood Witch, it grabs our Infestation Sage. Here, I think we take Claws out. It's just a good pump spell. Especially if we start getting cats off of our cat collector, then it's really good and it's really cheap. Sanguine Siphoner. Blanchwood Armor. We aren't playing Forests, so it's just immediately going to our sideboard. Armasaur Guide now is better in like you can actually take it because of our Felidar Savior. So we can have ever... It's also we can go wide, so we can put counters on things. We just like counter payoffs. It's also a 5-mana 4/4 with Vigilance. We can take the turtle, take the fishing pole, and then we're force-picked a Sower of Chaos. Okay, so this is interesting. Drakaseth is a really interesting card, but it is just like a big dumb idiot. It's a 7/7 for 7, and it's not in our colors. Then we look at what are in our colors. We've got Midnight Snack. This isn't good. We got Savannah Lions. This was one of the best cards in the world back in Alpha when it was originally printed. Now it's bad. We got Fleeting Fight and Make Your Move. Drakaseth is very fun. We just are so far away from being able to play a Drakaseth. The Fleeting Flight, I think, is what we're actually going to take. It's just a 1-mana instant combat trick that prevents damage that we dealt to our creature. It puts a counter on our creature, and it gives our creature flying. It just does so many things for 1 mana. Eaten Alive, Fake Your Own Death, and Sarah Angel. We already have 2 Eaten Alive. We already have 2 Fake Your Own Death. I think I would rather have a Sarah Angel. 5 mana 4/4 with Vigilance and Flying. Seems very good. Take a second Cathar Commando. I think I like this better than Prideful Parent or Savannah Lions. Here we'll take the Pilfer. It's just a good interaction spell. Will we want to play it? Not really, but do we feel bad for playing it? No. Rogue's Passage. Just a land, but also target creature can't be blocked this turn. It's a powerful effect. So, if we had seen this Balmor Battlemage Captain in Pack 1, we would have built around this. This is an incredibly powerful uncommon. And one of the best cards in this set, but we didn't. So we're going to just build around this Pilfer. Another Sanguine Siphoner. I don't care too much for this thing, Sanguinate, but it's probably good. It's a way to win a game. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the total life lost this way. I think Twice is just a good card to have, and we don't have any. Here's a third Fake Your Own Death. We'll take the Katana. We're probably not going to play the Katana. Here we'll take the Hidetsugu second right. And then we can take the Prowler. And an Elementalist Adept. I think we didn't get like the best deck, but we got a pretty good black-white deck. The good thing about it is we prioritized removal, and prioritizing removal is generally very, very good to do. Removal is very, very powerful. Let's build this deck, shall we? Okay, so we know we want our Cat Collector. It's one of the best cards we drafted. We know we want all of our stabs. They're very good. Luminous Rebuke is also very good. It's just a essentially 2-mana removal spell. Felidar Savior and Angel of Finality both get to come along. And then Infestation Sage, Fleeting Flight, both are Eaten Alives. They want all 3 of our Fake Our Own Deaths. The Fiendish Panda gets to come along for the ride. The Squad Rallier, both Cathar Commandos, both Pilfers, the Rogue's Passage, the Sarah Angel, the Blood Witch, the Soul Caller, and the Claws Out. And this is going to be our deck. So we aren't really leaning as much into the life gain part of this deck. So like our really only repeatable source of life gain is the Vengeful Blood Witch. But we are leaning really heavily into the like aggressive creatures that we want to die part of the deck, and removal spells, which I think is still going to be pretty good. And then they want us to do a little swap around 7 plains, 9 swamps. What I think we will do, just because it can give us the opportunity to do this, I want to pick what I think my favorite plains that we have is. I want to pick our favorites, and I think that my favorite is just all of our Final Fantasy full art plains, islands, and all that. This is something that we needed to do just for the achievement anyways. And like my favorite lands and all that stuff are generally actually the older lands. We also want the Panda. The Panda's great. The Panda's fantastic. Playing Panda and Drakoseth would have been very, very hard though, because it's like we want this black-white uncommon, and we want this triple red rare, and they just don't really go in the same deck. Okay. So this is overall a generally much more low-powered set, because Foundations was meant to be like, here's a core set for the next 5 years. Never ask us for another core set again. And so they wanted it to be like, there's some very powerful cards in it. We didn't see many of the powerful cards. But overall, across the balance, it's not supposed to be like the most powerful set ever made. But I think we got a pretty good synergy deck here. We're going to get to do some fun stuff here. We get to start off with this Pilfer. Our opponent has a hand full of islands, and then a whole bunch of flashback spells. I think we'll just get rid of their Fake Their Own Death. It's the only thing that they can't flash back if we put it in their graveyard. I mean, we'll just continue hitting them with our Infestation Sage until they die or do something that we care about. They're definitely going to just think twice at the end of their turn to draw a card. They're probably just going to think twice again at their end step, at my end step. We honestly want them to kill our Infestation Sage here sooner rather than later, so that next turn we can play our Vampire Soulcaller and get back our Infestation Sage. But also, they never want to kill this Infestation Sage, because it just dies and makes a 1/1 flyer. It might actually be the correct line for us, and this is a sick one, chat, is depending on what our opponent does here. Okay, so we are going to just stab their Strix Lookout, I think. Because if they had not played anything again for like the 20th time, we would have just stabbed our own Infestation Sage to play the Soulcaller to rebuy our Infestation Sage. We'll just play this 3/2 flyer. Our opponent has played a 2/1. And a 2/2 flyer. Interesting. They also didn't discard their card. To be fair, they can cast it next turn. They discard a land that would allow them to cast it next turn. I will attack with this Vampire Soulcaller. Okay, so I think what the plan is going to be here is, depending on what our opponent does, If they're just going to attack with the Dreadwing Scavenger, then I think we will just Fleeting Flight our Infestation Sage. To block their Dreadwing Scavenger. Because we just kill it. It just dies. Infernal Vessel is gross. Because it's going to die as a 2-1 and then come back as a 4-3. Do you have a way to just kill your own Infernal Vessel opponent? Like, we would have loved to have seen an Infernal Vessel in any of the packs that we opened. We're just going to attack with our Soul Caller. And then we will pass the turn. We have our Infestation Stage still. If they want to do something crazy, we can fake our own death. I'll take a Witness Protection. Honestly, it might make our legitimate business person better, because now it can actually block our opponent's creatures. We will block this Cutthroat and fake our own death. I fear that the rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Would you like to make a second Infernal Vessel? No, you're going to play an Arbiter of Woe. That's also gross. I guess we'll just play... no, we'll just discard it. They're going to make a 4-3 and a 5-4 flyer. We're going to discard our claws out. We'll draw a Stab, which doesn't do anything. It does really funnily allow us to trade any of our creatures for this Infernal Vessel. We forgot to block the Infernal Vessel. Our opponent's definitely just supposed to make another Arbiter of Woe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. We're done. Okay, so we have lost this one, for sure. Okay, we're going to immediately forget that one. We're going to try something else. We're going to try to do it again. If we lose this one, I will just rebuild the deck how I think it should actually be built. If I were to not use the tools and be like, hey, this is just what I think I should do. And we'll see how well that does. Okay. This is an interesting hand that I don't actually hate. If we ever draw a white source, this hand becomes incredible. Even if we don't, it's still pretty good. Mainly just because our opponent's going to do something gross like that, and we can just be like, no, your rare that can kill us is just dead. And then we can do Show Me Your Secrets. Okay, so our opponent has good secrets. And we'll just get rid of the Inspiring Paladin. Twinblade Blessing is also pretty bad, but every other creature in their hand that they could play when they attempt to Twinblade Blessing it, we can just stab it and it will die. I think we're fine taking 2 from this Burnished Heart.
They're just gonna go get 2 basics. We'll just play this Cathar Commando. We'll play the Cat Collector. Hold up our stab. They did 2 damage to us, we'll do 3 damage to them. Mischievous Pup. They'll have to return a Plains to their hand. But I think they're fine with that, because I think if I'm reading my opponent's intentions correctly, they're going to try and bounce that Plains, replay that Plains, and then Twin Blade Blessing. And then we get to blow them out with this stab. They didn't, but we will just try and blow them out anyways. If our opponent doesn't have creatures, they can't do anything. At this point, we'll trigger our Cat Collector and attack for 6. And bluff that we have anything other than lands in our hand, even though we don't. Drawing our own Squad Rallier would rip right now. Instead, we drew another Plains. We would love to stop drawing lands in all of our drafts. We seem to be very good at doing that. Hey look, it's another land! We have so many non-lands we could draw that would get us out of this situation. Eaten Alive would be great. Faking Our Own Death, another Pilfer. Sarah Angel, Luminous Rebuke, our Panda, our own Squad Rallier, Felidar Savior. So many live draws. So little time. We can take 3 damage. Okay, I'm really overdrawing every land in our deck in a row. We have only drawn lands, and it is getting a little annoying. Okay, so that's a draw. See, I really don't need more lands all the time, Rat King. I really don't. It seems to be a constant theme in everything that we do here at the Jank Drawer, though, when we play these limited matches, that I draw infinite lands. We have more lands in this game than we did in any of our standard games that we played. I would like to block, please. How badly do you want to commit to saving your Paladin? Because I know you can do it. I mean, it's honestly very good for you, but also I have to just not die. There we go. Cool. So my opponent gets to trade a 1-mana spell for my 5-mana spell and kill my creature. They are not of vital importance. Look at all of the lands that I have already. I don't need this many lands. I do get to do the dope thing, though, of play this Soul Caller, rebuy my Cat Collector, replay my Cat Collector. couldn't have done that if we didn't have all of those lands. Although, now they're going to probably finally put this... They're not even going to put this Twin Blade Blessing. This is very much my opponent going, but I still had all these. That's honestly big now, because we can activate this. Squad Rallier is a good pickup, though. Do you also have another pump spell for... Oh, this has flash. Ah. Well, I will take that. If you're willing to let me give you my 3/2 flyer that can't block for 2 life and a Twin Blade Blessing, I would think that's a trade I will make any day of the week. Let's kill the Inspiring Paladin. Do you have a way to, like, make it not destructible? Because that's what you need, opponent. And then we have the infinite money glitch of Squad Rallier. Try and find something. Ooh, I will take this Felidar Savior for next turn. Because then we can make a 3/2, a 4/3, and a 4/5. The only thing I can hope is that my opponent has been drawing as poorly as we have. Make our cat collector unblockable. Start racing. I mean, if our opponent wants to keep attacking us with 1/1s every turn, they can do that. We will start attacking them with 4/3s. This is the only land that I wanted to draw. You were correct, Rat King. We did need at least one more. The one more we needed was our 1 copy of Rogue's Passage, so we can start doing 4 damage a turn unblockable. You did tell me. I should have listened to you. That's on me, Rat King. That's on me. That's unfortunate. There goes my money sink. My infinite money glitch. Well, we already know that there's no such thing as bias in the chat. It's not allowed. See, that one right there, though, we did not want to draw. Do you have the Luminous Rebuke? Is that what the last card in your hand is that you're sitting here looking at? Or are you just going to block my Cat Collector and then sack your Burnish Short for 2 more planes? Either way, I shall gain 2 life and make a cat. Our opponent has just infinite copies of Burnish Chart that they drafted, apparently. So our only plan here is that we can gain more life than they deal to us each turn. And we can block infinitely as long as we gain life against this Squad Rallier. That falls apart the second they drew this second Healer's Hawk. Panda would not be a bad draw. Heir Apparent, okay. Make our Feldar Savior unblockable. There we go, there we go. Do you have multiple Heirs Apparent? No, you just have infinite Healer's Hawks. Interesting. Any creature wouldn't be a bad draw. A Pilfer wouldn't be a bad draw. Heck, even this Fleeting Flight wouldn't be a bad draw. I feel like we've been cursed by some fickle genie. I also have so many cats. See, you've cursed me, Rat King. You've cursed me, you said it, you've spoken to it existence, then we drew it. They also killed our Squad Rallier, so we don't get to do the cool thing that they get to do, which is our opponent just gets to sit here and keep spending mana to draw better cards. Because our Squad Rallier is dead. Okay, so we want to block, 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 block. We take 5 damage. They gain 3 life. The math is no longer in our favor on these exchanges. That was not the card we wanted, but we can see what our opponent's secret is. Our opponent has a Divine Resilience. Give all of their players indestructible until end of turn, apparently. We have made it back. Okay. Hate this. Do they have a pump spell of some kind? No, they're just gonna sink mana into this. Okay, that's also fine. Maybe we win because our opponent draws their entire deck. Not because they attack us for 1 billion next turn. Yeah, we're just lethal to flyers. Even if we get in with our Feldar Savior. So this is going to be fun, but good game, opponent. We're dead to just flyers. They have 4 people with flyers, and we don't have any. 4 creatures with flying, we have no way to block them. Okay. I think our deck gets infinitely better if we trim down on the fake your own deaths to put in the Sanguine Siphoners, and we take out the claws out for Exsanguinate. Why? Because we draw a billion lands every game, and if we're gonna draw a billion lands every game anyways, we might as well put in an Exsanguinate to just gain a billion life. And then the Sanguinators are also just 2 mana 1/3s that gain us a life. Okay. We are on the draw. I don't hate this. I'd love to draw a creature to play before this Felidar Savior. Ideally 2. But Pilfer into Luminous Rebuke is not bad. It's lands and spells, which is honestly, based off of how things have been going, more than I feel like I'm entitled to ask for. Okay, so Swamp would be great. I mean, honestly, a stab off the top would also be pretty good. Oh, they're just gonna bushwhack immediately for a white source. Hey, an angel! It's a things to do. I mean, we do unfortunately at this point need more lands. We just don't need more lands forever. Campus Guide. Play a 2/1, go get another land. See, like, one more land than this, and we'd be perfect. Okay, so I hate every card in this hand. We'll get rid of the Inspiring Paladin, though, because it goes best with all of the rest of their stuff. It's their counters payoff for their counters hand. This Mischievous Pup isn't actually great. The Nessian Horn Beetle is still small enough that we can do something about it. We'll play this Plains, and we'll pass the turn. Because we played the Plains because now we can Cathar Commando block and Fleeting Flight, so that it can gain a counter and take no damage this turn. Which I think is a good move. Okay, the pup is coming in. What are they going to bounce? Probably the Campus Guide? If I were to be a betting man? Attack me with this beetle. I'll play this Cathar Commando. We can go to blockers. I will block. And then I will... The Horn Beetle was actually the creature they had that I was the most afraid of. We'll now play our Angel of Finality. They have nothing that they can do about that, so they'll just exile their graveyard, and now we have a 3/4 flyer. And then next turn, we can Felidar Savior, put a counter on each of these. Llanowar Elves is not a great draw for our opponent. Bite Down's annoying. They found another Plains. We know what they're drawing next turn, and it's a Plains, which is bad for our opponent. This Mischievous Pup, if you just attack me, I'll block. I promise. Okay. Opponent. I'd really like our opponent to do something here. I don't want to be roped by Icky of the Sticky, which is crazy good name. There we go. Okay. Well, it's not the best Felidar Savior I've ever played, but I will take it. We knew that they were going to draw this Plains. I'm fine taking 3. This is a race that we are winning, and it's a race that we don't even have to do anymore. You want to trade both your creatures for my Felidar Savior? And take 4? So we are 37% to draw another land, which isn't great, but we can take it. We can live with that. Oh, that's good. I don't like that. You just drew a 6-mana 6/6 with Vigilance. Now we want to draw our Eaten Alives. That was not an Eaten Alive. We've got an 8% chance, chat. 8% chance to find our out. Exsanguinate is also like a weird out, so like that's 12% chance. Okay, Apothecary Stomper is definitely going to get in, and there's nothing we're going to do about that, because like we can just afford to take the damage. Squad Rallier was not the draw we wanted, but it is a draw that we will take. Mainly just because it can draw us into something else. Ooh, Vengeful Blood Witch is good. We'll take a Vengeful Blood Witch. Because then we can play a Vengeful Blood Witch and just start blocking things. And our opponent will die to us blocking things. Ooh, I actually love this attack for our opponent. Okay, they conceded. There we go. Victory was ours. Love that. Okay, we are going to take a break here, chat. It's top of the hour. There's going to be some ads. I need to go cycle some fluids. You should go do the same. Stand up, stretch, move around. Let's see what our reward was. Not good. Okay, we'll be right back, and we'll continue this then. That works better if I unmute the mic. Welcome back, welcome back. We've been playing some Magic the Gathering Arena. I just had to go use the facilities. Great to have you all around. Right now, we are in the middle of a quick little Foundations draft. We thought we'd do something nice and easy to try and, you know, grind out our opponents with life gain synergies and things like that in a format that's not super high powered, and then we've been just absolutely styled on. So we're hoping to just salvage something out of this draft. So that's what we're up to here. We have a pretty good black-white deck. I mean, all things considered, I think. We weren't playing all of the life gain synergy stuff in it, and I think it was a little light on creatures and a little hard to play that way. We've now put all of the creatures back in and cut all of the, like, gimmicks out of it. And I think it's going to be fine. I'm fine with this. Once again, a single white source, and it would be great. Ask and ye shall receive. Gleaming Barrier's a little annoying, but our only creature we have to play is a Serra Angel, which doesn't care about this Gleaming Barrier at all. Neither does this Angel of Finality. 3/4 flyer is still just good. I think it's going to be Rogue's Passage Serra Angel next turn. I mean, it depends on if they play something like absolutely ridiculous that we have to Luminous Rebuke, but I don't think they will. Like, Lightshell Duo's good, but it's not like we have to Luminous Rebuke it for 5 good. It's very much a we can wait for them to try and do something else and pay 2 for our Luminous Rebuke. Like, we can definitely Luminous Rebuke it next turn and be fine. This Lightshell Duo is going to potentially hit us for a lot of damage here, though, just because 3/4 with Prowess, it can get pretty big. And we aren't going to block it, because literally they pump it exactly once and our Serra Angel dies, and our Serra Angel is better for us than this Lightshell Duo is for them. Where this all falls apart is we really don't want them to put this Swiftfoot Boots on their Lightshell Duo, because we do want to Luminous Rebuke it. Witness Protection does kind of suck. Now we just have to block with our legitimate business person, but we still have our Angel Eye Finality to be a 3/4 flyer. Ah, opponent saw the line. They have put their boots onto the duo. That is unfortunate, but we'll just play a couple of Sanguine Siphoners. This legitimate business person is just going to block the Lightshell Duo now. If we can ever get Hexproof off of this, now we have mana up so we can just Luminous Rebuke. So we can also get our life gain payoffs, so like either our Fiendish Panda or our Cat Collector. Those start popping off with our Sanguine Siphoners now in play as well. The main goal is just like, we're going to keep drawing lands. We're eventually get to the point where we can just exsanguinate our opponent for lethal. Because right now, we can already exsanguinate for 4. Their own Luminous Rebuke is annoying. I will block with this legitimate business person. Interesting choice. Angel of Finality of their own is annoying, because now we don't get to get either of our best creatures back when we play our Fiendish Panda, or when we play our kind of anything. We'll just kill the Angel of Finality now. Ooh. Honestly, best draw. Best draw we could have gotten. Honestly, I think we're even just going to exsanguinate for 1. Because it makes our Panda a 6/5, which means they have to draw a non-creature spell to be able to attack their Light Shell duo, which they didn't. They can attack with their Healer's Hawk, that's fine. They're not going to. Perfect. We'll make it so our Fiendish Panda can't get blocked, and then attack for, like, uber omega lethal. Because, like, they can block our Siphoner, both of our Siphoners, gain a life. They'll still take 8 from the Fiendish Panda. There we go, there we go! Cool! We're string together some wins here now. We changed up the strategy a little bit. We brought in the Sanguines, which I think should have been in the deck to begin with anyways. All we cut for them was our Not Dead After Alls, which I don't think are necessarily all that good. This is probably a really good hand. See, like, these forests, these Saga forests, I would love to have these forests. These look so cool. Gnarlid Colony is a little annoying. A Heraldic Banner is not bad, especially if they're a mono green deck. I don't actually mind trading a commando for a colony, I don't think. Felidar Savior as the draw was not great, especially since they now just have this 6/3. Let's play the Blood Witch. This way we can rebuke their giant when they inevitably attack us with it. And then next turn we can play better creatures. That's annoying as well. Similarly, Sanguine Siphoner, and then still hold up Luminous Rebuke. At this point, we'd rebuke either of these. Elfsworn Giant, I think, is still the bigger problem, but Treetop Stairpit are also not a great thing for us to see from our opponent. Gwynn Guildly Dane, also bad. Infestation Stage is a good pickup. We'll take that. It's a good blocker. It works well with our Blood Witch. Snare Spinner, you're just going to spend a whole bunch of mana to put counters on things, are you not? You got 7 mana? What else are you going to do with your 7 mana? This is a tough matchup. Our opponent's just playing big green Stompy. Okay, interesting things are gonna have to happen here. Our opponent once again, all-time banger of a name, Crabfather. Incredibly lucky to get that username, opponent. Big fan of the Crabfather. Spending a lot of time looking at their Treetop Snare Spinner. Deciding if they want to put counters on things. Yeah, there you go. Do it again. Okay, I'll just Luminous Rebuke that. Second Treetop Snare Spinner. Gross. Let's Felidar Savior. Putting big counters on the Elfsworn Giant. I'll play this Vampire Soulcaller. We'd love to draw our Eaten Alives at this point. The Cathar Commando is just going to come in to blow up their Heraldic Banner just to make it so that these have... Oh, that's huge. Okay, so Eaten Alive is really good because what it allows us to do is mainly how we're winning this game is through this Vengeful Blood Witch. But also, we can sack our Infestation Sage to kill this Elsworn Giant. And that's huge. These treetop snare spinners also issues. We have one more eaten alive. A second Dwynnen Gitleaf Dane? Really? Play this Angel of Finality? Squad Rallier next turn. What we're really hoping for, like, as much as I complain about the fact that we draw a billion lands, because we do, what we're really looking for right now is to draw our Rogue's Passage. If we can draw a Rogue's Passage, we can start getting in for some damage. Because, like, we have all these flyers, which would be great, except for that they have so many creatures with reach. They also apparently weren't mono green. They just didn't draw their mountain until turn 13, which is ridiculous. Okay. Honestly, as far as things that my opponent could have targeted, the Squad Rallier is one that I'm largely okay with. At this point, the game plan is just like, hold on to things as long as possible. Our win condition on board currently is this Vengeful Blood Witch. Or getting a million mana and exsanguinating them, I guess. Take the damage. Apothecary Stomper is also gross. Don't love that they drew that. Make that Treetop Snare Spinner a 5/8 with reach and Death Touch. Okay, I hope you guys can hear it, but also this is now going so loud that it is just like screaming in my ears. Just making the world's largest treetop spinner. They also were able to kill my Vengeful Blood Witch, which isn't good. Evolving Wilds for the Spitfire Lagak is not good. Honestly, I think we have to do this. I think we have to block with the Panda so we can rebuy the Blood Witch. So our opponent got another mountain. Okay, so eventually we're just going to be throwing all of our creatures into the abyss here. There we go, there we go. I think we have lost this game. Because I think just the 3 Treetop Snare Spinners is one that I don't know that we can come back from. Especially with how big they are. It's like currently our only removal spells for them are Eaten Alives, and we only have one of those. We're just going to put a million counters on this Apothecary Stomper. There's our Rogue's Passage. We are just dead. Cool. Well, another really unsuccessful draft. But we did high roll on the fact that it gave us 2 packs, which is good, since there are actual cards from this set that we want to get. Also got a new emote. Okay, let's see what we get out of these, and then let's play a couple of games of Standard. So, what are we going to get from these packs? Grow from the Ashes, not a bad thing. Mocking Sprite, very good. A Braid, you can never have enough braids. The things that we want this to be are either a Soulstone Sanctuary or a Day of Judgment. And we get Crystal Barricade. 2 mana, 04 defender. It gives you hexproof and prevents all non-combat damage that will be dealt to other creatures you control. It's definitely a rare. It's not actually that good, but it does have a lot of niche things. Like, this could be a sideboard card, and it does help with some things that could happen. It's not necessarily super playable in current Standard. But it is an interesting card. Let's see what's in this one! Once again, we're looking for Day of Judgment, and we are looking for Sanctuary, Soulstone Sanctuaries. Ambush Wolf and Revenge of the Rats are good first-time pickups here. A third Bushwhack is always good. That used to be one of the best cards we were playing for a while. Let's see what we get. It is Lunar Insight. 3 mana sorcery, draw a card for each different mana value among non-land permanents you control. I mean, it draws a lot of cards. That's not a bad thing to know. Okay. Well, with our journey into Limited over, let's journey back into Standard, where honestly we've been on a little bit of a tear today. We were winning a lot of games earlier today. We've been playing against some interesting opponents. Some opponents playing some decks that I've never even considered. Our most recent one that we were talking about was our last Standard opponent that played a Grixis Rogue's Passage Summon Primal Odin list, where the whole game plan was trying to resolve a Summon Primal Odin with a Rogue's Passage in play, have it stay on the battlefield for a turn, and then Rogue's Passage it so that it would attack you and you'd lose the game instantly. Which was an interesting strategy. Here we are against Sigmi. Sigmi is actually a Platinum gamer. They are in a division higher than us. So, we got the pair up. I'm fine with keeping this. We have the Champion of the Weird in our hand, which we don't really want because we can never cast it. But it's something that we can discard. Champion of the Weird was? Or, oh no, Summon Primal Odin. There it is. Odin is fun. He was in that Tom Bombadil deck. It was just one of those where, like, we couldn't... To be fair to our opponent, when we were playing that match, we just could not figure out what our opponent was trying to do. We're going to pay X equals 3. We're going to go grab our Formidable Speaker. Discard our Champion of the Weird. And we're going to go grab our Bright Glass Gearhulk. Our opponent seems to be playing some sort of Dinosaurs deck. Oh, wow. Just Nibelheim of Flame to board wipe us is crazy. Unfortunately for our opponent, we can just naturally cast this Bright Glass Gearhulk. And I think we'll actually, with this one, grab Mockingbird Llanowar Elf, just because we need the mana. Their own Llanowar Elves? Okay. I was not expecting the turn 4 board wipe in green... green-white, I will admit. I think we're gonna grab a Gene Pollinator. I'll attack with my Gearhulk. We're just trying to get damage in. The fact that our opponent does have the opportunity to board wipe us again. They didn't, though. They are just gonna play a Trumpeting Carnosaur. Enduring Courage. Our opponent has a dope deck. I will admit. Copy this Gearhulk. Let's get Seam Rip. Pollinator. Okay, so now we need the Gearhulks on defense. Because we can double block any of these creatures. The thing is this all falls apart if they just Nibelheim us. They also just played a Galta, which is a 14 power creature with trample. And we have 13 life. So... our opponent has a very, very interesting Dinosaurs deck that is pretty good. So we don't need the Soul Guide Lantern. The Seam Rip honestly doesn't seem good. We want the Unable to Screams for sure. The Disdainful Stroke. And we can cut the Keen-Eyed Curator. I think that'll be it. It's like we don't need the graveyard interaction. We really just need to be like, how do we turn off your dinosaurs that are big? Umulgan this one. This is also not a great opening hand for us, but we can keep it. Get rid of one of the Blossoming Sands. Guildgate, so we can Riddler next turn. Regal Imperasaur is gross. Gonna just lead with that. Our opponent may just be a better gamer than us. This is an incredible curve. Unable to scream is a good pickup. Hopefully that'll help us with any other big... Objectively false that they're a better gamer. I don't know. They're gaming out of their minds right now. They just played... Did you see this 11-9 they just played? We need the explosive prodigy. They can play another Aganosaur Rex this turn, and we do just lose. They didn't, so we are still living, chat. Grab another Enable Scream and another Mockingbird. We want to make the Enduring Courage also not a real creature. Because then when they play their creatures coming in, they aren't going to have haste. So that's nice. I mean, I'm sure that Ghalta is always a party and Majestic Genesis with Ghalta sounds like an absolutely terrifying state of being to have around you. We shall make another Bright Glass Gear Hulk. Gene Pollinator Llanowar Elves. Play the Gene Pollinator. Because, like, the thing is, we are just dead to them top decking a Ghalta. Not anymore, because we do have all three of the Bright Glass Gear Hulks. So we can block a Ghalta. Second Regal Imperiosaur does suck a lot. Play Quantum Riddler. Guess we'll kill the Aganosaur. It's the only creature we can kill. I think we can do this. I think we can get away with this, chat. And so we're gonna attempt to. We're gonna play this speaker. We're gonna discard the Llanowar Elves that our opponent knows about. We're gonna go grab our Ouroboros. We're gonna cast our Ouroboros. And now we're getting to the point where we are approaching critical density of we should be able to... We'll tap their Unable to Scream. We are getting to the point where we are going to be able to attack with our Riddlers and Gear Hulks and just kill our opponent next turn. And that is currently the only way I see us winning this match. It all loses if they... Okay, Pyroclasm is gross, but Pyroclasm doesn't actually win them this game. Bonehorde Dracosaur is also gross. Llanowar Elf, Quantum Riddler, draw 2 cards. I think if we just swing out, we win. Okay, there we go. There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Ridiculous. Okay, so, once again, math is for blockers on that one, but, like, that's the only way that we win this, is our opponent can't draw the absolute nuts. And we need to play, like, incredibly passive. Like, the only good creature in this matchup for us in our entire deck is Brightglass Gearhulk, and it's because it has First Strike. And then it can get us more copies of Brightglass Gearhulk. I don't hate this. It's a Badgermole Cub on 2, into Ouroboros on... If we can draw a 1-drop, this hand becomes absolutely cracked. Okay. Speaker, discard one of the 3 Quantum Riddlers in my hand to go grab Brightglass Gearhulk. I will attack with this Badgermole Cub. Llanowar Elves, okay. Llanowar Elves doesn't lose us the game. So, I will take that. So the weird thing that we get to do here, chat, is we can do Badgermole Cub. Pick up the Blossoming Sands. It doesn't matter at this point which one we grab. But then we can Starting Town. Add 3 mana. Spend 1 of it to untap the Starting Town. Add more mana. And then Ouroboros. And now we get to have the wide board. They currently can't play a dinosaur and board wipe us in the same turn with only 5 mana. Or 6 mana, technically. Slagstorm is annoying. That does a lot of damage to our ability to play things. It does also... It doesn't actually make it so that we can't play this Brightglass Gearhulk next turn, though. We can still... Brightglass Gearhulk... Grab Mockingbird... Unable to Scream... Which is perfect, because now we have our Enable Scream for that. Okay, so let's use our Quantum Riddler, draw a card, see if we can draw a card that we want to play. Awesome. We can play this Gene Pollinator. We can play this Unable to Scream on the Enduring Curiosity. Attack for 7. And then, because we drew the second Unable to... Slagstorm's great. So, if you haven't seen Slagstorm Midnight Campaign, have you heard of the card Brotherhood's End? We can look at Brotherhood's End after this. It's another very, very good card. Okay. We're just gonna make another Bright Glass Gear Hulk. We'll grab 2 Llanowar Elves. Our opponent's at 1. The Enduring Curiosity of Unreal Scream does sound like a Cosmic Core. Okay, there we go, baby! We came back against the Dinosaur deck. I did not think we would beat the Dinosaur deck. We beat the Dinosaur deck. Jeez. After how atrocious of a game 1 that was, the game 2 really salvaged a lot for us. Ooh, free card! Rufus Shinra. Okay. No, Slagstorm's great. Slagstorm's also been around forever. Slagstorm, if I remember correctly, was originally printed in like one of the Mirrodin sets. Yeah, Slagstorm was originally printed in Mirrodin Besieged. And then was reprinted in Foundations. It's like a 30-cent rare in that campaign, and you'd probably love it. The other one that that most people have heard of that has been reprinted recently because it's that it was printed recently and is really good is Brotherhood's End from Brothers War. And it's a similar effect. 3 mana sorcery, choose 1. It either deals 3 damage to each creature in Planeswalker, or instead of doing 3 damage to each player, it does destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. It's another really good card. But yeah, Slagstorm I think saw play in the most recent Pro Tour too, out of the sideboards. It's a good way to deal a whole bunch of damage to a whole bunch of creatures. Okay. We jump back into the ladder. The thing about the Unable to Scream on the Enduring Curiosities is it also makes it so that the enduring part of the enduring enchantments doesn't happen. Because one of their lines of text is when they would die, they come back as an enchantment. And if they don't have that line of text, then they just die and then are dead. I don't hate this hand. I don't love this hand. But Quantum Riddler on 2 into Nature's Rhythm covers up a lot of bad. Yeah, I mean, as he should. Playing Flamewave in the year of our Lord 2026 is maybe not what anyone should be doing. Since, you know, it's 7 mana, 4 damage to target player and every creature they control. I do think that Slagstorm is a much better card than Flamewave, if that makes you feel better. Our opponent seems to be playing some sort of mono-white. Ooh, a Wonder Weave Aerialist is something that I am a little bit concerned about. Because this gets out of hand very quickly. Gene Pollinator? That was what I feared. The Wonder Weave Aerialist getting any sort of boon put on it. Playing a 4/6 hopefully will help with that. And the fact that we can play another one next turn. And then eventually we can just start Nature's Withering for big things. You can like Flame Wave. I'm not saying that you shouldn't like Flame Wave. I'm just saying that you shouldn't be surprised that you are being bullied for playing Flame Wave. Because playing Flame Wave is a bullyable offense. Play another Quantum Riddler. That's gross. I do think we just need to get our Ouroboros now. Play a Blossoming Sands. Nature's Rhythm for an Ouroboros. Yeah, Gisela, Fire Emancipation, and Flame Wave would be very funny, but that's just because you're doing truly so much damage. The thing about Flame Wave is, like, Flame Wave is only one target opponent, which is, like, less than ideal. We can bring in our Seam Rips, we can bring in our Fungus, our Meltstrader's Resolve, our Rex Sage, we can cut our Soul Guide Lantern. We can cut that, we can cut that, and we can cut the Shimmer Wilds. Is it annoying that I have to pay 3 mana to exile their Aerialist? Yes, but also it's a price worth paying. Scavenger on 1 is also very annoying, but we can deal with that. This is going to hurt because they're going to get to hit us for 3, but I think that's a price we are willing to pay. Authority of the Consuls, okay. Let's get rid of the Champion of the Weird. And honestly, just threaten them with the fact that we have our Ouroboros in our hand and see what they do about that. Our opponent has played an Authority of the Consuls, which is good, but like I don't think we want to pay the 2 life though, because we can just do this. And this is probably just a better use of our mana. Do you want to use a thing that kills tapped creatures? They do. Battle menu, kill my Quantum Riddler. I think I am good on tonight. I appreciate the invite, though. I am still very much deep in the recovery from this weekend, I think. And so I think I've got enough energy in me to finish out this match of Magic the Gathering. And then I'm going to try and get ready for the meeting on Thursday. And Other than that... Oh, my opponent is done. So maybe one more match of Magic the Gathering. And work on some other behind-the-scenes stuff, and then just try to call it a really early night tonight. Because, like, even though I got 12 hours of sleep in the last 24 hours, I don't want to be going to bed at 2 in the morning again tonight and waking up late tomorrow morning. If I could just, like, tuck in early at around 10 and go Hongshu me. Crime Novelist was a good pickup there. Achievements. We got Journey to Nowhere. We now have a new title, The Virtuous. But we also, most importantly, got a new pack. Let's see what's in this pack, everybody! And it is... Lessons from Life. That's a good pickup. Draw 3 cards, put a land from your hand on the battlefield tapped. It's just like the newest version of Growth Spiral, but just a big Growth Spiral. Stomped by the Foot, another great removal spell. Tenderize, another great removal spell. Can never have enough uncommon wild cards. And then for our rare, we get Donatello Gadget Master. Once again, I don't think this is the best Donatello. I do think the best Donatello is the Mythic Donatello. I think the Mythic Donatello is maybe one of the best Mythics in the set. But this is still a pretty good one. 3 mana, 3/2, legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. Has Sneak for 1 and a blue, which once again means that if you attack with an unblocked creature, you can bounce it after the Declare Blockers phase back to your hand, pay 1 and a blue, and replace it with Donatello Gadget Master. And then whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you create a token that's a copy of any target artifact you control. There are definite artifact decks in Standard right now that this goes really, really well into. There's also artifact decks in every format, and the fact that this just gives you an extra copy of literally any artifact you control. Teenage is not a creature type, unfortunately. But they did fit every other thing about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into a creature type line. That's a good pickup. I'm really excited about that one. It goes in a lot of decks, and it's actually one that in paper I would like to pick up. Okay. It's going to take us a little over there, but we started a little late. Let's do one more match of Standard. We're also, like, on a tear. Okay, we are going to try and get there. Currently waiting for our opponent. The thing is, like, the deck's been performing admirably today. Even, like, in our bad matchups of, like, I didn't think we were really favored into that Elementals matchup. I didn't feel too great about our Dinosaur matchup. It's just why I like this deck and why I think it's a good first deck to build into if you're trying to rebuild an account or start an account from scratch, is it is very much just that idea of we can answer almost any problem. We'll keep this. If we can draw another untapped land, we won't though since we're on the play, so we are just going to do Llanowar Elves into Badgermole Cub. We'd like a Gene Pollinator at some point, but... Yeah, Ashiok is an unattainable they-them beauty standard in that if you really want to be apparently the pinnacle of they-thems, you have to have 2 giant horns instead of a face. Don't love that our opponent did Shockland into Moonshadow, but here we are. Moonshadow, very good card. We haven't seen it because I don't own one, but Moonshadow is a 1-mana 1/1 with Menace. It enters with 6 -1/-1 counters on it, and whenever 1 or more permanents are put into your graveyard from anywhere, while it has a counter on it, remove a counter from this creature. So it just gets keyword big. We are going to discard this Simic Guildgate. We are going to go grab an Explosive Prodigy. We are going to... I think this is going to be our plan. We are going to warp in this. Tapping the Formidable Speaker. Ooh, and then we will Gene Pollinator. And Explosive Prodigy. Blow up the Moon Shadow. Super Shredder, also really gross. Whenever another permanent leaves the battlefield, put a counter on it with Voice of Victory, making these tokens that are going to leave the battlefield. This is going to get really, really big. To make it as small as possible, we're going to try and kill the Voice of Victory now. So the Super Shredder is going to become a 4/4. But hopefully not much bigger than that. Kavero off the top is kind of dope. I think we'll Shimmer Wild's Growth. We'll target that one. We'll make this a black creature. Let's tap this. Use this speaker to untap it. Nature's Rhythm, X equals 4. Ouroboros. We just have lethal on board for next turn. They have a Super Shredder in play, and that's their only permanent. There we go. Because I'm like, this is a scary deck. This isn't the scariest deck. Unable to Screams are going to come in. Seam Rips are going to come in. Soul Guide Lanterns are going to come out. Keen-Eyed Curators are going to come out. Shimmer Wilds are going to come out. Aurora Awakener is going to come out. We will bring in Melt Strider's Resolve. And honestly, I think that's it. We just take down our top end, we get even leaner, we bring in all of our things, because they're going to be playing a deck that is only playing like 1-drops and 2-drops. So bringing in all of our ways to deal with creatures is going to be really, really good. Having a Seam Rip in our opener is already great. We don't have a white source, which sucks, but like this already deals with an early threat because we can Gene Pollinator into Melt Strider Resolve. Gorehound is one that we just even don't care about at all. Other than it can make their Moon Shadow real big, real fast. But they're already backstreeting without a Moon Shadow in play. And we know that they kept that on top, so they're not going to put it down. Play another Thornwood Falls. Play this Gene Pollinator. Next turn, assuming they don't get a permanent into their graveyard this turn to make their Moon Shatter bigger, we can next turn Melt Strider's Resolve. Lord Skitter is gross. Okay, the Moon Shadow is going to be a 2/2 now. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to Gene Pollinator, kill the Gorehound. We'll play this Blossoming Sands. So Melt Strider Resolve, targeting the Pollinator. Fight the Gorehound. Seam Rip. Tap the Melt Strider Resolve. Eat the Moon Shadow. play another Gene Pollinator, and then, honestly, next turn, both of these are massive. Bright Glass Gearhulk is good, but only if they really play something we need to care about. Like, a Voice of Victory is maybe something we need to care about, but honestly, not really. Tap these, play our Gearhulk, go grab a Seam Rip and a Mockingbird. We'll Seam Rip, eat their Voice of Victory. Next turn, we can Mockingbird, make another Gearhulk, go get a Mockingbird and our third Seam Rip if we need to. Umbercaller Zealot is a good pickup. Do that. Mockingbird, X equals 3. Go grab Mockingbird, Seam Rip. We're going to try and Seam Rip their Umbercaller Zealot. They do get to Surveil twice, but I do think that's fine. Cool. Our opponent's seen enough. There we go. Honestly, I thought we were going to have to go a little late for that one, but that even just beating that person got us all the way up to our 6 o'clock. We're just absolutely cruising. We've hit a little bit of a stride, chat. Going through gold. Traveling Botanist. Okay, well, I think that'll be it for us today, chat. Thank you all for coming in. It's been fun. Sorry again for the late start. Sorry for the disheveledness. Like I said, I had a wild weekend, and I'm still a little bit recovering with that. But we're going to end a little early. We're going to end on time today with the hope that that'll get me the recovery that I need so that when we come back to you tomorrow, we can be full force, ready to go, jumping back into our regularly scheduled programming. It's going to be our first time talking football in a minute because we're coming back with Pro Vercelli hot and ready for you tomorrow in Football Manager 26. We're also going to be talking about all of the games that we haven't been able to talk about. There's been some crazy stuff going on in the Champions League. There was a cup final this weekend that Arsenal somehow managed to lose. It's been wild, and we're going to talk all about it tomorrow. Until then, I have been Sam. This has been the Jank Drawer. It has been great to entertain you today. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, I'll see you next time.